Doulou Dalu, the power of a book. Greetings, fellow multiversal adventurers. It's an honor to have you back in this saga that has us all hooked. Official channel statement: this story is 100% epic fiction, so please don't attempt real magic. The results aren't guaranteed and insurance won't cover it. The rights to this masterpiece belong entirely to its brilliant original author. We are just a barge sharing it with you. Do you want to keep being part of this amazing community? Join our ninja army of subscribers on YouTube and give this content a like. And for true fans, our Patreon has exclusive ninjutsu waiting for you. Chapter 101, I'll Remember This Grudge. The renowned skill of Blazing Academy's Dean, Ho Xian'ang, needs no introduction. Although not as groundbreaking as Xiaozhan's self-created fire demon-style technique, it is a technique born from Ho Xian'ang's integration of numerous spirit skills. It can be said that Ho Xian'ang's prowess is built upon the foundation of the spirit skills provided by his many spirit rings. Calling it a self-created spirit skill isn't an exaggeration, but the prerequisite conditions are quite demanding, requiring mastery of at least 4 corresponding spirit skills as a basis. The highest version of Ho Xian'ang's technique is said to incorporate 6 major spirit skills. According to what Su Wen heard from Xiaozhan, he suspects that Ho Xian'ang's skill might already be considered a distinct domain in itself. While others may find it challenging to inherit this unique skill of Ho Xian'ang, needing to experiment with spirit rings from start to finish, Su Wen is different. His self-created spirit skills, which involve mastering the control of both the wind and earth elements, are keeping pace with his own training. Even though many of his ideas are borrowed, this alone demonstrates his extremely strong learning ability. Isn't it just needing a few spirit skills as a foundation? I'll just create my own. By replicating it several times and experiencing it firsthand, the difficulty of creating corresponding effective spirit skills will decrease dramatically. Su Wen isn't worried about not being able to learn this intense skill of Ho Xian'ang. Ho Xian'ang naturally doesn't know about Su Wen's many learning techniques, but just from Su Wen developing so many self-created spirit skills, Ho Xian'ang decides to let Su Wen give it a try. Su Wen waited for less than 10 minutes before teacher Wang led 16 students to the fighting arena. Accompanying them were 2 other teachers and Dean Ho Xian'ang. Among the 16 students, there were 7 members of the Blazing team, 1 being the captain of the Inferno team, Ho Xin, and the remaining 8 were clearly of different age groups. Understood that these were likely the contestants from the current, next, and subsequent years of Blazing Academy. Of course, perhaps due to age reasons, the next 2 cohorts didn't have their full quota of members recruited. Instead, they chose a few with the strongest talents who could be absolutely guaranteed to enter and began nurturing them ahead of time. Su Wen hadn't expected them to start nurturing 2 cohorts in advance. He had thought that preparing 1 cohort in advance would be sufficient for participating in the Spirit Master competition. After all, preparing 1 cohort in advance already meant having 6 to 10 years of time. Preparing 2 cohorts in advance meant that, with the Academy's investment, they had devoted themselves to efficient training for at least 11 years. The notion that the 5 elements are the closest to an independent force isn't just a whimsical idea, Su Wen thought to himself. Su Wen, this is our Blazing Academy's Dean, Ho Xian'ang. Haha, you must be Su Wen, right? Xiaozhan must have mentioned me to you, hasn't he? Ho Xian'ang had no airs about him. Instead, he approached and directly patted Su Wen on the shoulder. Su Wen winced as his shoulder was struck by that large hand. Ho Xian'ang, however, was inwardly surprised. This physical resilience was truly extraordinary. No wonder he had trained in the fire demon style. In the past, whenever he and Xiaozhan exchanged blows without using martial spirit or soul power, he always came off worse. Wen's physical limits. I'll let it go this time for the sake of Dean Ho Xian'ang's face, but I'll remember this grudge, Su Wen muttered under his breath. Xiaozhan had often mentioned Ho Xian'ang to Su Wen, and he knew their relationship was good. According to him, Ho Xian'ang's idea of creating his own unique skill arose from the stimulation he felt when Xiaozhan developed the fire demon style. Therefore, this grudge would be settled in the future. Uncle Zhan did indeed speak highly of you, senior. He has nothing but praise for your skills, Su Wen thought resentfully, but his face remained smiling. Uncle Zhan, Ho Xian'ang felt a bit puzzled. Aren't they master and disciple? Well, they're both book martial spirits, they might even be relatives. I consider Xiaozhan a friend too, so you can call me Uncle Ho or Yang. He spoke directly. Su Wen didn't refuse. It wouldn't hurt to call him by a more familiar name since he was about to learn from him. Uncle Yang, Ho Xianyang nodded, clasping his hands behind his back as he walked towards the group of students. The one standing before you is Su Wen. If you don't know him, it's fine. Just know that he, along with a spirit grandmaster wielding a 7-treasure glazed tile pagoda martial spirit, defeated the blazing team together in the Great Spirit Arena. The members of the blazing team hung their heads in shame. The elite students present, apart from their 7 and Hozin, the remaining 8 were all juniors. Having this revealed on the spot felt like a death sentence. Sure enough, 5 of the 8 youngsters were utterly astonished, evidently unaware of last night's events. Only 3 knew beforehand about the plight of the blazing team, but they too were surprised to see Su Wen, the ignorant scholar, standing before them. The Academy has invited Xiaoan here to engage in one-on-one exchanges with all of you. Ho Xianyang's statement made all 16 individuals subconsciously step back. Seeing this, Ho Xianyang frowned, a look of disappointment passing over his face as if he was disappointed by their lack of resilience. However, due to Ho Xianyang's authority, all 16 individuals reluctantly stepped forward to their original positions. Ho Xianyang nodded, then continued, however, I've also agreed with Xiaoan that he will only use fire attribute abilities in the upcoming battles, and his soul power burst won't exceed the consumption of 1,000-years-old spirit skill. Su Wen, Uncle Yang, when did we agree on this? Wasn't it agreed that I would only use fire element control abilities in combat? Why restrict the burst of my soul power as well? Su Wen's spirit skills are all self-created. As long as his body can withstand it, he can forcibly unleash a large amount of soul power to execute his fire demon-style technique. But if the burst of soul power is limited, then Su Wen's maximum damage output is restricted. Winning will depend on tactics and adaptability. Ho Wusheng and Ho Wu breathed a sigh of relief upon hearing Ho Xianyang's restrictions. The siblings knew where Su Wen's strength lay. Now that Su Wen's bursts were restricted, his abilities would be at most on par with 1,000-years-old spirit skill level, giving them hope. When I mentioned 1,000-years-old spirit skill, I meant a genuine 1,000-years-old spirit skill, Ho Xianyang clarified, though few understood this statement. The rules of the competition are simple: rotating battles. Starting with the 7 of you from the blazing team, you will each take turns fighting against Xiaoan according to your age. If even all 7 members of the blazing team fail to eliminate Xiaoan, then you 7 will spend 6 months training in Fire Valley. If all 16 of you fail to eliminate Xiaoan, then each of you 16 will spend 6 months training in Fire Valley, Ho Xianyang declared in a solemn tone. Su Wen felt a pang of sorrow for the 16 individuals, especially the 7 members of the blazing team. According to Ho Xianyang's words, they would have to spend a year in Fire Valley. Although he hadn't experienced the taste of Fire Valley herself, Su Wen had just heard Teacher Wang describe it. Fire Valley was a place suitable for fire attribute spirit masters to train, but staying there for a long time. Clearly, it would be a painful experience, despite its benefits for soul power cultivation. Ho Wusheng and Ho Wu took a deep breath, their gaze fixed on Su Wen, full of determination. With so many restrictions in place, they couldn't afford to lose this time. They would exhaust all means to defeat him. Su Wen, I'll be the first to challenge you, Ho Wusheng declared, stepping forward to issue the challenge. If you want to read 50 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 102, We Won't Lose This Time. Despite feeling somewhat resigned to the restrictions imposed by Ho Xianyang, Su Wen never entertained the thought of losing. Sometimes, the power of a spirit skill isn't solely determined by the amount of soul power it outputs. Of course, within the Douluo continent, factors influencing the power of spirit skills generally only consider the age of the spirit ring and the quantity of soul power output. Furthermore, the upper limit of soul power output is itself constrained by the age of the spirit ring. Unfortunately, conventional standards couldn't be applied to Su Wen. Su Wen assesses the power of spirit skills based on 2 factors, the quantity of soul power output and the efficiency of its utilization. Even with restrictions on the output of soul power, Su Wen is confident that he can unleash power equivalent to that of an ordinary spirit master with a 2 or 3,000 years old spirit ring spirit skills. As for the rotating battles, it was hardly worth mentioning for Su Wen. Sorry, I'm not a spirit elder, I'm a spirit ancestor, a level 48 spirit ancestor. Su Wen, this time we won't lose again, Ho Wusheng said confidently. Both sides, get ready, Teacher Wang reminded Ho Wushilong not to keep making bold statements and to prepare for battle. The battle begins. Boom. Instantly, flames exploded beneath Su Wen's feet. He didn't use wind elements, but the principle was the same. The explosion of flames caused the air to expand, propelling him forward. Moreover, due to the characteristics of ice and fire immunity, Su Wen didn't have to worry about the flames causing damage to his legs. Being immune to both ice and fire meant Su Wen was destined to dominate against the many students from Blazing Academy. His whole body was covered in flames. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of Ho Wushilong, delivering a punch. The output of soul power wasn't excessive, yet the impact of this punch made Ho Wushilong's complexion change. Third spirit skill, Violent Fire Dragon. Claws emerged between his hands, his body swelled. The dark red scales on his martial spirit's body burst into gold and red glow. Flames resembling a dragon surged behind him, as if a furious fire dragon had manifested. Ho Wushilong's aura instantly surged. Second spirit skill, Explosive Dragon Claw. The flames gathered behind him, concentrating on his right claw, which he swung forcefully, colliding with Su Wen's fist. Boom. Ho Wushilong couldn't help but stagger back. As flames exploded beneath his feet, Su Wen used his strong physical resilience to counter the backward momentum and continued forward with punch another. His casual eruption was Ho Wushilong's limit. Bang! This punch landed on Ho Wushilong's chest, leaving a scorching flame lingering around the one-horned tyrant dragon's body, causing burns. His feeling the burn, Ho Wushilong sucked in a breath of cold air. Is this what it feels like to be burned by flames? Apart from the time when his martial spirit awakened just now, and during the period when he was still exploring the realm, it had been many years since he had experienced this sensation. This injury finally made him realize the source of Su Wen's strength. It wasn't about outward appearances but about Su Wen's mastery of fire. All of this talk about having a second ring of 1,000 years old, or mastering fire demon style in advance, were just excuses. What truly made Su Wen stronger than them was his exploration and mastery of fire. Ho Wushilong's expression turned grave as he had to admit this fact. Without giving him a chance to catch his breath, Su Wen, seeing that they were already in close proximity, continued to press on with overwhelming force. Bang! 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 Every punch he threw made it difficult for Ho Wushilong to resist. Each punch was swift and powerful. Even though it didn't cause as terrifying damage as in the previous Great Spirit Arena, it still suppressed Ho Wushilong. At this moment, the onlookers felt that Su Wen was so effortlessly relaxed. Why did it feel like this despite the intense close combat? It was simply because Su Wen's pressure was too strong. Each punch he unleashed was too smooth and swift. The elite students of Blazing Academy, who were originally confident, now felt a faint sense of apprehension. Ho Xianyang remained focused throughout the fight, observing Su Wen's every move. Despite trying to conceal it, his admiration and astonishment were evident in his eyes. Bang! With a final punch, flames exploded, sending Ho Wushilong flying and crashing heavily onto the ground some distance away. 5 Su Wen wins. Teacher Wen glanced deeply at Su Wen, announced the result, then turned to the students beside him, saying, Ho Xin, get ready to step up. The battle displayed a completely one-sided posture. Su Wen completely overwhelmed the 7 members of the Blazing team and defeated them. One by one, Su Wen seemed like a demon king, ruthlessly rubbing the pride into the ground. Xianyang's expression was also grave, signaling for the competition to continue. Bang! Su Wen threw the final punch, eliminating Mo Yan, the youngest member of the Blazing team, only 12 years old. Even Teacher Wang, at this moment, felt an indescribable pressure. This was the oppressive feeling accumulated by Su Wen through 16 consecutive victories in rotating battles. After 16 battles, Su Wen's condition had only just begun to decline. In this exchange match, Su Wen wins, future miserable lives, but none of them were unwilling. At this moment, they truly realized that there were people beyond their expectations. Su Wen, may I ask how you cultivated? Ho Wu approached Su Wen, her beautiful eyes carrying a hint of curiosity as she inquired. Although it might be presumptuous, she was genuinely curious. Uncle Yang should know. Su Wen didn't hide it and probably could guess his method of cultivation. I'm just slightly ahead of you in the development of fire. Fire development? Cough, cough. Ho Xianyang coughed twice, interrupting the student's thoughts. The path Xiaowen is taking is not suitable for you. Practicing like this before becoming a spirit saint may actually hinder your soul power cultivation, he said solemnly. Leaving the fighting arena, Su Wen and Hoshianyang arrived at the Fire Sea. This was where the teachers of Blazing Academy above the level of Spirit King cultivated. However, Su Wen was unaffected by entering it. Hoshianyang seemed to be aware of this and directly led Su Wen to the deepest part of the Fire Sea. I promise you, Su Wen, that I will wholeheartedly guide you in the next week. How much you can comprehend will depend entirely on your own efforts, said Hoshianyang. Thank you, Uncle Yang. Waving his hand, Hoshianyang showed no signs of dissatisfaction with Su Wen's lack of special skills, but rather had a sense of relief. With Su Wen's performance today, his learning ability might just allow him to learn Hoshianyang's skills as if by magic. This was tantamount to him finding a successor. Hoshianyang was actually looking forward to Su Wen's performance in the next 7 days. My fiery heavenly son's most basic version is based on my 4 spirit skills, which I have integrated over many years of refinement. Now, aside from my martial spirit's true form, I have incorporated 6 out of my total 7 spirit skills into it. Hoshianyang introduced his unique skills with a proud and confident demeanor too. This was his greatest achievement in life. If you want to read 50 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 103, It's No Big Deal. Hoshianyang's martial spirit is the violent fire dragon, which mutated from the foundation of the one-horned tyrant dragon. His fiery heavenly son skill originally started with a fusion of his 4 major spirit skills, Raging Inferno, Brilliant Sun, Fire Demon Overlord Body, and Flame Master. Using these 4 spirit skills as a foundation, he merged their various characteristics to form a new spirit skill. In the world of spirit masters, this is one of the most common types of self-created spirit skills, where existing spirit skills serve as the basis for creating a unique spirit skill that belongs to the spirit master themselves. Compared to Zio's own self-created spirit skill, the Fire Demon style, the drawback is that it's not easily passed down. With the requirement of having the 4 major spirit skills as a foundation, it mandates that the learning spirit master must possess at least 4 corresponding spirit rings and corresponding spirit skills. Even though Hoshianyang currently has 3 spirit skills, none of them correspond to Hoshianyang's. At most, the 3rd spirit skill might have some commonalities with a Fire Demon Overlord body. As for Ho-Wu, according to the original story, she would only acquire the Brilliant Sun spirit skill at the 4th ring. The difficulty of inheritance is evident. If you want to cultivate my fiery heavenly son, you must first attempt to master similar techniques to my 4 major spirit skills. Hoshianyang briefly explained the effects of his 4 major spirit skills. Su Wen pondered for a moment. Although you don't possess the Fire Demon Overlord body and Flame Master spirit skills, based on your performance in the recent battle, I believe you should already meet the requirements of Fiery Heavenly Sun in these 2 aspects. As for the Raging Inferno, its ranged fire attribute spirit skill. While its group attack capability is important, what's even more crucial is creating a fire attribute environment. Given your learning ability, it shouldn't be difficult for you to develop it. Perhaps the most difficult yet crucial point for you is the Brilliant Sun. Hoshianyang slowly juxtaposing the learning requirements with Su Wen's current abilities, analyzing the main training needed for Su Wen to learn Fiery Heavenly Sun's techniques. The role of Brilliant Sun within Fiery Heavenly Sun is central, responsible for the continuous supply and conversion of fire attribute energy. Not only does Su Wen lack the corresponding foundation, but this spirit skill is also the core of Fiery Heavenly Sun, which is why Hoshianyang mentioned that it's the most difficult yet crucial point for Su Wen. Su Wen listened attentively, nodding along as Hoshianyang analyzed. After Hoshianyang finished his analysis, he raised his hand to ask a question. Any questions, Uncle Yang? I'd like to ask, what number spirit skill is your Brilliant Sun? Hoshianyang frowned, unsure of the significance of Su Wen's question, but he still answered, my Brilliant Sun is the 4th spirit skill. The 4th spirit skill? Isn't that convenient? Su Wen's eyes lit up. Seeing this, Hoshianyang felt he understood Su Wen's thoughts and shook his head, giving him a reality check. Just because Brilliant Sun is my 4th spirit skill doesn't mean it'll be easy for you to develop. Within Fiery Heavenly Sun, the Brilliant Sun learned is just the basics. The real core lies in the aggregation and conversion of energy. I see. Su Wen wasn't the least bit discouraged, nodding to indicate his understanding. When Hoshianyang revealed his 4 basic spirit skills, Su Wen already had a rough idea of the principles behind Fiery Heavenly Sun. However, handling the details was the key, and that's where the difficulty lay in learning Fiery Heavenly Sun's techniques. As for brilliant sun? Sorry, but after hearing Ho Xianyang's answer, Su Wen indicated that it was all a minor issue. Hey, Uncle Yang, can I borrow a drop of your blood? Ho Xianyang frowned, not understanding Su Wen's request, but still extended his right hand, forcing out a drop of blood. Su Wen took the drop of blood and integrated it into his martial spirit. The fourth spirit skill was unleashed. Although the spirit ring didn't manifest externally, Su Wen's soul power rapidly depleted, with noticeable fluctuations. Ho Xianyang could guess that Su Wen was using a spirit skill. Using blood to activate a spirit skill? Ho Xianyang's mind stirred, suddenly realizing a blind spot. Su Wen's spirit skills might not be the elemental controlled type spirit skills they had previously anticipated. Auxiliary type spirit skills focused on assisting spirit masters in their own cultivation or research, which had no immediate effect in battles but held extraordinary significance for spirit masters in the long run. Su Wen's spirit skills are of this type. In this way, there are some similarities with most book martial spirit owners, but he didn't use these auxiliary type spirit skills to study theory. Instead, he used them to develop his strength. While Ho Xianyang's speculations continued, Su Wen's replication had already ended. His aura began to change, hands gathering flames, directing them towards the top of his head. Above his head, crimson energy began to converge, a white fireball gradually growing larger, emitting a scorching aura. Replication, Ho Xianyang exclaimed in astonishment too. He now understood the reason why Su Wen mastered so many self-created spirit skills. With more experience, the difficulty of development lowered. However, this was still extremely challenging for ordinary spirit masters. Ho Xianyang took a deep breath, watching as Su Wen easily mastered the core spirit skill he had been worried about, feeling an infinite sense of anticipation rise within him. That's enough. Su Wen's conditions are enough. Because he suddenly realized that his third spirit skill is none other than Raging Inferno. Su Wen doesn't even need to easily develop them. With replication, he can quickly master the two missing spirit skills. Seems like I can start learning the Fiery Heavenly Sun's technique directly, Su Wen chuckled and said to Ho Xianyang. Ho Xianyang nodded, acknowledging Su Wen's statement. Next, I'll explain the structure of Fiery Heavenly Sun to you. Next comes the complex theory class. For half a day, Ho Xianyang only covered the process of practicing Fiery Heavenly Sun based on the four major spirit skills from a superficial level. That's where each task needs to be completed. As for the training and technique principles to achieve each goal, he hasn't had a chance to discuss them yet. It's a cumbersome project. Su Wen isn't in a hurry. Under Ho Xianyang's guidance, he began the training methodically. This kid has truly exceptional luck, Douluo marked at the hotel. Upon hearing the news that Su Wen was training at the Nuoding Academy, he couldn't help but feel amazed. Ho Xianyang, Fiery Heavenly Sun, both a skill and a name, had such a great reputation in the spirit master world back then. This kid even practices fire demon style. Just these two combined, even a titled Douluo could consider it a trump card. Su Wen is still in the process of constructing his own system, and it is estimated that he will further refine it based on this foundation in the future. Douluo has already envisioned that in the future, as long as Su Wen can grow, he will surely stand among the top ranks of the continent. Well, Xiaoan will be training there for 7 days. After completing the training, he will come to Godwine City to meet us, Du Yuyan said. She was also surprised by Su Wen's situation. Douluo smiled and said, no need to be surprised. Su Wen's talent will be valued wherever he goes, especially by those who value heritage, like Xiaozan and Ho Xianyang, spends only about 100 years, and the only thing they can leave behind is to pass on their achievements to others. If you want to read 50 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 104, How Could You Be So Fast? The first step you need to take is to develop the Brilliant Sun, Ho Xianyang explained. The Brilliant Sun is the most essential, providing a continuous source of energy for the entire Fiery Heavenly Sun. The direction of development is to condense by absorbing external heaven and earth energy, no longer relying on one's own soul power to condense the Brilliant Sun, but instead using external heaven and earth energy as the power source. However, by doing so, the Brilliant Sun loses its locking ability and becomes more difficult to control, but none of this is a problem. After all, within the Fiery Heavenly Sun, the Brilliant Sun is no longer used as an attack method, but merely as an energy conversion device. For spirit saints who have already mastered heaven and earth energy to some extent, They can directly develop it in this way. Some powerful spirit masters can also attempt it, as they can easily manipulate heaven and earth energy through spiritual power. Ho Xianyang explained the direction and method of developing the brilliant sun. If neither of these conditions is met, you can also use Flame Master, a controlled type spirit skill, to assist in development. Of course, even if the first two conditions are met, I still recommend using Flame Master as an auxiliary. At this point, Ho Xianyang began to formally teach Su Wen the techniques involved in the development process. First, Su Wen spent a day successfully condensing the brilliant sun with heaven and earth energy. Then came the conversion and output of energy. The conversion involved transforming the fire attribute energy condensed from heaven and earth energy into a form that Su Wen could easily absorb. Su Wen found this conversion step very easy to perform. It wasn't even considered a conversion into source soul power. This level of conversion was child's play for Su Wen. Ho Xianyang had thought that this most abstract step might take Su Wen a lot of time, or even completely halt his development progress, but to his surprise, Su Wen completed it in just a few hours. The final output is not yet developed. Now it's time to develop the main part of the fiery heavenly sun, Raging Inferno. Flame Master. With these two major spirit skills combined, the surrounding area was transformed into a zone of flames. Su Wen embarked step by step, guided by Ho Xianyang, mastering each technique. It must be said that although Ho Xianyang's personality is fiery and direct, he still possesses a certain subtlety. He is quite adept at teaching skills, summarizing the details of refining the techniques of his developed fiery heavenly sun in a very reasonable manner. Or perhaps it could be said that the ability to develop this formidable skill was itself a result of successfully following this logical planning sequence. Watching Su Wen quickly master various techniques and make rapid progress, Ho Xianyang's feelings were complex. There was surprise mingled with a hint of self-doubt. How could it be happening so quickly? With the environmental transformation completed, the focus now shifted to utilizing the energy converted by Brilliant Sun as the power source for Raging Inferno. Meanwhile, utilizing the ability of Flame Master to firmly fix the entire structure. Finally, it's the fusion of one's own fire demon overlord body with Raging Inferno, with the energy of Raging Inferno constantly providing support for oneself. 7 days passed. Ho Xianyang looked dazed, staring at the area covered by raging flames within a 10-meter radius. Above was a dazzling white fireball, absorbing and transforming the surrounding heaven and earth energy into rich fire attribute energy. The flames within the entire fiery domain burned incessantly, even showing signs of intensifying. Su Wen was enveloped by flames, resonating with the surrounding inferno, emitting an extremely fierce aura. Is it trained now? Ho Xianyang looked at Su Wen's performance, still unstable, with energy conversion intermittent. He felt incredulous too. How could this be? There must be something wrong somewhere. Ho Xianyang felt that perhaps his teaching ability was too strong. Well, after sending Xiaoan away and when Washuang and Wu are in Fire Valley for training, I'll let them try it out, Ho Xianyang thought to himself. Uncle Yang, does this count as a success? Yes, indeed, it's a start. Now, you need to practice diligently. First, stabilize and maintain Raging Inferno, then gradually increase both its range and intensity, Ho Xianyang said as calmly as possible. Oh, by the way, since you've grasped the basics of Raging Inferno, let me tell you about its advanced forms. Xianyang activated his spiritual power. The fifth spirit skill I integrate into Raging Inferno is Fire Meteor, and the sixth one is Fire Meteor. Dragon's Fury? Fire Meteor adds a sustained area of effect attack to the existing Raging Inferno. Fire Dragon's Fury, according to Ho Xianyang's explanation, further enhances control over the entire Raging Inferno, allowing for complete manipulation of the fiery energy within the covered area, integrating it into oneself. This spirit skill was also specifically sought after initially. Of course, that was my original idea. However, as Fire Dragon's Fury integrates into Raging Inferno, the imposing aura embedded within my 8th spirit skill also merges into Raging Inferno, granting it the ability to both empower oneself and suppress enemies simultaneously. This is how my Raging Inferno came to be considered akin to a domain-type self-created spirit skill. In fact, with a basic version of Raging Inferno established, it's not necessary to follow my path completely for further development. Once the foundation is laid, it's possible to integrate other fire attribute attack spirit skills instead of Fire Meteor. However, as Ho Xianyang continued speaking, he fell silent. He pondered Su Wen's abilities, sensing a potential to create a pressure field similar to the effects of Dragon's Might. It seemed to offer an alternative to the effect of Dragon's Might. After the silence, he shared some techniques he discovered while integrating the 8th spirit skill that might be useful for Su Wen. After another 3 hours of theoretical explanations, Su Wen completed this practice session. "Thank you, Teacher Ho," didn't evade the gesture. Instead, he accepted it as a matter of course. "These are some of my research findings." Su Wen thought for a moment and then handed Ho Xianyang a page containing the internal strength version he had engraved when he first arrived in Heaven Dao City. Ho Xianyang looked at the page, which depicted a complex soul power circulation route, unaware of its value. "You've put in effort," Ho Xianyang thought for a moment, then took out a crystal ball emanating a fiery aura, mixed with a hint of Dragon's Might, and handed it to Su Wen. "You'll be going to Godwind Academy next. When you arrive, deliver this to the Dean of Godwind Academy." Su Wen joyfully accepted the crystal ball and stored it in his storage spirit tool. "Come back to Blazing City when you have the time." "Sure will," Su Wen waved, bidding farewell. Wen suddenly realized he had forgotten something. Feeling his soul power depleting rapidly, Su Wen widened his eyes. "It seems like I not only failed to solve the burden of replication spirit skill, but I also unintentionally replicated an extra fiery heavenly sun." If you want to read 50 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 105, Do you know how I spent the last half month? Feeling the abnormal rate of soul power depletion within his body, Su Wen was stunned. Previously, he had been focusing solely on learning the fiery heavenly sun, without paying attention to this aspect. Or rather, his outward performance was that of a level 39 spirit elder, in front of Ho Xianyang, a spirit Douluo. He had no intention of displaying any level of spirit ancestor proficiency. This led to him neglecting the fact that while he was focusing on learning, his soul power consumption exceeded that of a spirit elder. It wasn't the consumption from practicing the fiery heavenly sun that bothered him, but rather Su Wen's own consumption in maintaining the replication spirit skill. This fiery heavenly sun consumes so much. Previously, Su Wen could subconsciously assume that the consumption was due to his replication of this spirit skill, and he had been continuously using its spirit skill. But now, he realized that it was the maintenance of the replication of this martial spirit that consumed so much. Descending from the air, he decided not to continue flying towards Godwind City. Upon careful consideration, he gradually understood the reason. If I keep maintaining the replication of this fiery heavenly sun, I'll be able to unlock Uncle Yang's 5th spirit skill after breaking through to Spirit King. Su Wen blinked. Is it really such a good thing? Ho Xianyang is a strong attack-oriented spirit Douluo, and all of his spirit skills are top-quality fire attribute spirit skills. When he mentioned that what Ho Xianyang needed was the fire demon overlord body, it was just a conceptual one, perhaps lacking Su Wen's finesse and fire element control, a collective term for similar spirit skills. Su Wen replaced it with the fire demon style. While Ho Xianyang's 5th spirit skill is the fire dragon body, which is the best among similar types of spirit skills. With multiple experiences, Su Wen believes that developing and perfecting the fire demon style will be smoother but very dominant in macro control and manipulation of flames. With Uncle Yang's violent fire dragon martial spirit, it seems I won't need to rely too much on other sources for the development of fire elements in the future. So, aside from some functional fire attribute martial spirits and spirit skills, Su Wen can abandon the martial spirits he replicated. First is Ho Wuxiang's martial spirit, which is of no use, so he abandoned it. Ho Wu's defying flame ring can indeed be kept. As for the flame flower martial spirits, flame clone, multiple clones, and flame exchange, Su Wen pondered the various functions of many spirit skills. When it came to the 3 major spirit skills of the flame flower martial spirit, his thoughts paused for a moment, then his eyes widened. It seems that the refinement of the raging inferno could potentially incorporate these 3 major spirit skills of the flame flower martial spirit. If this integration succeeds, wouldn't I be able to freely exchange within the domain of the raging inferno? Previously, Su Wen had found limitations in flame exchange and had some disdain for it, but now he thought differently. Su Wen noted down this idea as a key focus for himself in refining the raging inferno in the future, continuing to sift through the many martial spirits he replicated. The fire star martial spirit will be retained, a slight reduction in his burden. The fiery heavenly sun still occupies too much weight. Developing the replication spirit skill is still a long and arduous journey. The Emperor team departed from Blazing City, heading towards Godwine City located northeast of the Heavendao Empire. Along the way, they also visited various small and medium-sized cities' great spirit arenas to broaden their knowledge and experiences. It took them 7 days. Su Wen, on his own, did not sacrifice gaining knowledge for the sake of traveling faster. On the contrary, he not only visited the great spirit arenas but also recorded the terrain, natural scenery, almost like a tourist along the way. As a result, even though traveling alone would have been more convenient, it took him a full 10 days to reach Godwine City. And at this moment, the Emperor team was only 1 day away from leaving Godwine City. Xiaoan, why are you so slow? Haha, I ran into some interesting spirit masters on the way, which delayed us a bit, Ningrongrong said with a look of grievance, pulling Su Wen to complain. Brother Xiaoan, do you know how I spent this month and a half without you? Tu Yufeng and the others rolled their eyes. They knew very well how this little girl had spent her time on the road. With an extra dedicated support member, she only needed to observe and learn tactics without engaging in battles. They enjoyed eating, drinking, and having fun along the way, making the journey quite enjoyable. And now she was crying about it. Huh? Well, tonight I'll take you flying, Su Wen chuckled, since we're challenging spirit ancestor level teams this time, as usual, I'll arrange an opponent for you. What? Ningrongrong exclaimed in dismay, looking at Su Wen with a pitiful expression. Brother Xiaoan, don't do this to me, don't worry, I promised Uncle Ning that I'll protect you, Su Wen said as he patted Ningrongrong's head. But tonight, I am indeed planning to challenge the spirit ancestor team. What? Qin Ming exclaimed in astonishment. Previously, while in Blazing City, he had mentioned to Su Wen and Ningrongrong that they would try the local spirit elder team for the first 3 days, and if they felt confident, they would then challenge the spirit ancestor teams or engage in a 2v2 challenge against spirit ancestor combinations. However, at that time, his mention of challenging the spirit ancestor teams was just a joke. Challenging 2 spirit ancestors was already quite difficult. Xiaoan, even though it's not a life or death battle, there are still risks in combat. The 2 of you challenging the spirit ancestor teams is absolutely out of the question, Qin Ming firmly refused. Teacher Qin Ming, have you forgotten about my training at Blazing Academy? Su Wen replied. Qin Ming frowned, looking at Su Wen with an uncertain expression. Su Wen hadn't hidden anything at the time, mentioning that he was learning the ultimate techniques of Blazing Academy's Dean, Ho Xianyang. However, in just this short of time, could Su Wen have mastered it? Mastering the ultimate technique of a renowned spirit Douluo wasn't something that could be achieved easily. Qin Ming still believed that Su Wen was overconfident. He had followed Su Wen throughout his registration for the competition and had not allowed him to register for matches challenging the spirit ancestor teams. However, Su Wen still registered for 2 matches, 1 2v2 challenge against spirit ancestor combinations, and 1 team battle against a silver spirit elder team. Xiaoan, do you still need to go to Godwine Academy? Back at the hotel, Qin Ming, who was getting ready to hit the road again, received another leave request from Su Wen. There was a trace of helplessness mixed in his speechlessness. Why did this spirit fighter training feel like Su Wen was visiting one academy after another? First, go to Blazing Academy, then go to Godwine Academy. However, with a token from Blazing Academy's Dean, Su Wen's visit to Godwine Academy is likely to be fruitful, and there's no reason for Qin Ming to stop him. Alright, you can depart directly from Godwine City then. I estimate. Okay. Separated from the team once again, Su Wen arrived at Godwine Academy just outside Godwine City. If you want to read 50 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 106, Do You Know Blue Tyrant Academy? Godwine Academy. Su Wen handed Ho Xianyang's token to Dean Yunfei of Godwine Academy. So, you want to practice at Godwine Academy for a while? Yunfei asked. That's right, but if you don't mind, I also hope to exchange ideas with the elite students of your academy, Su Wen said. He arrived in Godwine City just last night and had fought 2 battles, but had not replicated the martial spirits he desired. Although replicating more martial spirits would burden himself, Su Wen couldn't avoid replication just because of this burden. When faced with a problem, one must solve it rather than avoid it. Oh, Yunfei was surprised by Su Wen's confidence. He actually wanted to fight the elite students of Godwine Academy? You're 14 this year, yes, what's your soul power level? 39. After learning Su Wen's age and soul power level, Yunfei fell silent, understanding why Hoshianyang held such higher regard for Su Wen. 14 years old, level 39. Practicing on the continent now, perhaps a breakthrough could occur during the practice. Even if a breakthrough wasn't achieved during the practice, there was hope to break through after the practice ended by cultivating quietly for a period, likely not exceeding half a year. By then, he would be a spirit ancestor at the age of 14. Creating history on the continent. Alright, I'll arrange a friendly match for you, Yunfei suggested after some thought, not rejecting Su Wen's request for an exchange. Dean Yun, since it's mainly for exchange, it won't just be about fighting. There will also be discussions on experiences in developing wind attributes, Su Wen suggested. Yunfei glanced at Su Wen, neither rejecting nor directly agreeing. If those students themselves don't mind sharing with you, then there's no harm in mutual discussions. Unlike Hoshianyang, Yunfei's approach to Su Wen was more about satisfying his reasonable requests out of respect for Hoshianyang, without giving him special treatment. Su Wen didn't mind this. There was no connection between him and Godwind Academy, so Yunfei's attitude was understandable. Director Mo, I'll leave it to you. The bald-headed teacher in charge of arranging the friendly match was the head of the academic affairs. Director Mo received instructions from Yunfei and promptly arranged the friendly match. For Godwind Academy, the challenge from external spirit masters was a good thing, especially in Su Wen's case. Regardless of the result of the friendly match, simply Su Wen's current status as a 14-year-old with a soul power level of 39 was enough to put pressure on those elite students. Do you have any specific format in mind for the match? Director Mo asked in advance. Su Wen's soul power level is actually just right. Currently, all the students from Godwind Academy who are preparing to participate in the Spirit Master competition 2 years later have already reached the level of high-tier Spirit Elders, which is a soul power level of 36 or above. Among them, Captain Feng Xiaoshan has even reached level 39 early on, with a good chance of breaking through to level 40 in the coming months. In this exchange with Su Wen, Director Mo also hoped to put some pressure on Feng Xiaoshan to help him with his breakthrough. Let's make it a 1-vote-1 match, and I'll only use my wind elemental control abilities, Su Wen proposed. Listening to Su Wen's words, Director Mo frowned but remained silent. He felt like Su Wen's second sentence was implying that he could defeat the elite members of their academy without using his full strength. Since it's a friendly match, we should naturally exchange skills in areas where both sides excel, Su Wen added. Director Mo nodded in agreement and then asked, Su Wen, which Advanced Spirit Master Academy are you currently studying at? Heavendao Imperial Academy. Heavendao Imperial Academy. Director Mo glanced at Su Wen with surprise, not understanding why Su Wen would study there. Su Wen didn't explain either, and the two proceeded to the training grounds of Godwind Academy, one after the other. After Director Mo took Su Wen to arrange the friendly match, Yunfei sat alone in the dean's office, lost in thought. 14 years old, spirit ancestor. Even a 15-year-old spirit ancestor is unheard of on the continent. Currently, the strongest genius of Godwind Academy, Feng Xiaoshan, is only level 39 at the age of 22. However, Su Wen is now only 14 years old and also at level 39. From awakening his martial spirit at the age of 6 to now, it's been 8 years in total. Even if his soul power was already full at the beginning, he would still need to increase it by 29 levels, which means he would need to improve by at least 3.5 levels every year. Feng Xiaoshan had a full soul power from the beginning, yet he only experienced this rate of improvement before reaching level 19 in the Spirit Master realm. Later, upon reaching the Spirit Grandmaster level, it's possible to improve by a maximum of 3 levels in a year, but in most cases, it's only 2 levels of soul power per year. Of course, part of the reason for this is also due to insufficient external pressure. Feng Xiaoshan is too distracted by his self-created spirit skill. Perhaps Su Wen's presence this time will serve as a wake-up call for him, Yunfei thought to himself too. With Feng Xiaoshan's talent, at the age of 22, while he might reach an advanced spirit ancestor, there was still hope for him to reach level 45 soul power at least. However, his dedication to his self-created spirit skill has caused him to neglect too much of his soul power. At the training grounds, Director Mo gathered the 7 members of Godwind Academy who were preparing to participate in the Spirit Master Competition 1. Xiaoshan, this is Su Wen from Heavendao Imperial Academy, who has come to our academy for a friendly match, Director Mo introduced. A friendly match? Feng Xiaoshan looked puzzled and asked, Pointing at Su Wen, is he the only one? Indeed, this time Su Wen will challenge each of you 7 individuals in turn. Director Mo nodded. To pique Feng Xiaoshan and the others' interest, Director Mo provided some information about Su Wen. Don't underestimate Su Wen. He is only 14 years old this year, but his soul power has already reached level 39. Sure enough, upon hearing this, Feng Xiaoshan's previously nonchalant expression became solemn, and he appeared more serious. The teammates behind Feng Xiaoshan also became serious one by one. At Shrek Academy, as Flender watched the 6 students walk away with backpacks full of rocks, he asked Grandmaster, Xia Gang, have you received any response from your family? Grandmaster's already stiff expression seemed to become even stiffer. He had received a reply from his father, who declined to send Yu Shai and Hang to Shrek, but did not refuse Grandmaster's request to gather the team. Flender, do you know about Blue Tyrant Academy? Grandmaster asked. Flender was taken aback, wearing a bewildered expression. Then, seeming to notice something about the name, he joked, Blue Tyrant Academy, could it be an academy run by the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan? Grandmaster's stiff face showed no change in expression as he said, if it were an academy run by the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan, what do you think of it? Well, it should be quite impressive, Flender replied, adopting a casual tone. Grandmaster nodded, not elaborating further. He planned to gradually reveal his intentions to Flender, making it easier for Flender to accept his plan. Otherwise, merging an academy that had devoted a lifetime of effort into another academy would be something Flender couldn't accept outright. Putting aside this matter, Grandmaster pondered another piece of information from his father's letter. If you want to read 50 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 107, Grandmaster's Thoughts. Su Wen, repeated in his mind. This familiar name left Grandmaster feeling complex emotions. Book Martial Spirit, Su Wen. This was no longer a coincidence. Grandmaster could preliminarily confirm that the Su Wen mentioned in his father's letter was indeed the same Su Wen he knew. However, everything in his mind left him completely baffled. 39 levels of soul power. Based on the timeline, Su Wen, who was now at most 14 years old, already possessed a staggering 39 levels of soul power and could potentially break through to level 40 at any moment. Even Tang Sen, who had full innate soul power, was only 12 years old and had just absorbed the 3rd spirit ring. Although his soul power had directly surged to 32 due to absorbing the soul power of the man-faced demon spider's spirit ring, it was nearly impossible for him to reach level 39 within 2 years. 2 years, 7 levels. This is extremely difficult even in the Spirit Master realm, let alone in the Spirit Elder realm. Moreover, Grandmaster hasn't forgotten one crucial point, Su Wen's innate soul power is only at level 5. Even without considering the gap represented by innate soul power, Su Wen would still have to increase his soul power by 5 levels more than Tang San. With this calculation, the gap in cultivation speed becomes even larger. After much thought, Grandmaster could only attribute the reason to one point. Su Wen's martial spirit mutated. His martial spirit underwent a mutation upon awakening. This was analyzed by Grandmaster and Baldine back when they were at the Nuoding City Primary Spirit Master Academy. Su Wen's martial spirit underwent a mutation, making it stronger in terms of hardness compared to ordinary book martial spirits. At the same time, Su Wen's cultivation speed at that time was also somewhat different from that of ordinary people. Therefore, Grandmaster speculated that this mutation also included a variation in soul power cultivation. Now, with Su Wen's soul power experiencing such a rapid increase, Grandmaster can only attribute the reason to Su Wen's martial spirit undergoing a more thorough mutation in this direction. As for the possibility of overdrawing potential to increase soul power, Grandmaster has also considered it, but from his father's letter, he could hear the admiration for Su Wen, knowing that this possibility is almost non-existent. Thinking about his own situation, Grandmaster fell into silence. Flender, who was originally proud of his acting skills, noticed Grandmaster's change and was also puzzled. He restrained all expressions, trying to prevent his own thoughts from being seen through. Cheyenne Heng will come to Suochuo City for spirit fighter training in a while. At that time, I will personally talk to Cheyenne Heng. If Cheyenne Heng insists on staying at Heavendao Imperial Academy, then I will persuade Flender to merge Shrek into Blue Tyrant Academy and participate in the Spirit Master competition under the name of Blue Tyrant Academy. Putting aside his own affairs, Grandmaster began to rethink the official business. Over the years, he has grown accustomed to the process of emerging from self-doubt. Or perhaps, he has become adept at avoidance. At Nuoding Academy, Su Wen has already experienced 6 battles. Apart from the captain of the Nuoding team, Feng Xiaoshan, all 6 other team members have been defeated. One so strong, Feng Xiaoshan's expression was solemn. Feeling the pressure increasing in his heart. Xiaoshan, prepare yourself. Douluo's expression was also heavy at this moment as he looked towards Feng Xiaoshan with high expectations. They can afford to lose, but you cannot. Your strength should far surpass that of your teammates. Out of respect, Su Wen rested for a while after each battle before starting the next one. After resting for 10 minutes, his condition had already returned to its peak, and he had fully absorbed the martial spirits replicated during the previous battles. Come on, Su Wen, let me see how strong you really are. Feng Xiaoshan stepped forward slowly, with a green light shimmering around him. The battle begins. Douluo announced the start of the battle once both sides were ready. The green light around Feng Xiaoshan's body became denser, his bones crackling, his figure towering, his hair turning green, and a wolf's head appearing above his left shoulder. Behind him, the shadow of a double-headed storm wolf condensed. Third spirit skill, Stormwind Wings, a pair of green wings condensed behind Feng Xiaoshan, lifting him swiftly into the air. Second spirit skill, Double Wolf Body Enhancement, %. The battle had just begun, and Feng Xiaoshan had already elevated his state to its peak. Similar to Su Wen's combination, Feng Xiaoshan's 3 spirit skills were currently all enhancement or foundation types, used to complement his development of his self-created spirit skill. After consecutively using the third and second spirit skills, Feng Xiaoshan's first spirit ring also lit up. First spirit skill, Windblade Formation, sharp wolf claws sprang from his palms, with semicircular wind blades condensing above them. His first spirit skill could unleash dozens of semicircular wind blades, blocking all evasion routes of the enemy. However, at this moment, he refrained from attacking directly. Instead, he condensed the wind blades on the wolf claws after executing the spirit skill. Seeing this, Su Wen didn't interrupt Feng Xiaoshan. Su Wen, this is the self-created spirit skill I've developed over the years, and it's also my strongest move. Given your strength, I'll directly use this move to battle you. Feng Xiaoshan's wings behind him burst with a surge of blue energy, swiftly maneuvering through the air and diving form towards Su Wen. My self-created spirit skill is named Stormwind Demon Wolf's 18 successive chops. Just 18 consecutive chops? Su Wen's heart stirred. However, his hands didn't hesitate at all, and the Rasengan collided with the wind blades condensed between Feng Xiaoshan's wolf claws. Bang! Feng Xiaoshan quickly retreated. There was blood flowing from his right wolf claw. With just one clash, the Rasengan caused an injury to his right arm. However, his figure never stopped moving. Riding the impact force of Su Wen's Rasengan, he swiftly swung out the second chop after converting the force. The force of this chop was stronger than before. However, Su Wen countered this chop with an equally powerful Rasengan. Third chop. Su Wen still used the most basic Rasengan to counter, but he was pushed back a step by this chop. The fourth chop, the fifth chop, the sixth chop. Su Wen's retreat became more pronounced with each strike, and he began using air currents to cushion his backward steps. By the seventh chop, Su Wen changed his approach of erupting with condensed wind blades. A massive wind spun into a small vortex, countering the force of the strike. Under layers of swirling airflow, Su Wen weathered this chop. At this moment, Feng Xiaoshan's heart grew increasingly heavy. Even until the 10th chop, Su Wen continued to use this method to withstand the attacks. However, by this point, Feng Xiaoshan's chopping force had become terrifying strike. It could rival a spirit skill of around 3,000 years old. The 11th chop. This time, Su Wen chose to condense Rasenshuriken and threw it, intercepting Feng Xiaoshan's strike midair. However, Feng Xiaoshan's chopping force became more and more terrifying with each successive strike, and his speed increased as well. 17th chop. Su Wen didn't have time to condense Rasenshuriken, so he directly used Giant Rasengan, using the vortex-shaped airflow to counteract the force of the chop. The 18th chop. The final chop. Su Wen conjured sign wings behind him and flashed past. If you want to read 50 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 108, Sharing Insights. Su Wen dodged Feng Xiaoshan's final strike. It wasn't that he couldn't take it, but at this moment, Feng Xiaoshan was already on the verge of losing control. Although his strength and speed had reached their peak, once the final collision occurred, he would also suffer backlash. Su Wen directly dodged, which could be considered a more merciful response. But even so, without suffering the backlash from the final collision, Feng Xiaoshan still appeared heavily injured after landing. His entire skeletal structure seemed to be under severe pressure, somewhat deformed, and his arms were dripping with blood, all injuries caused by the earlier Rasengan and Rasenshuriken bursts. He looked at Su Wen, his eyes full of admiration, but also a hint of disappointment. The power of the final strike is no less than the explosion of a spirit skill of 5,000 years old, Su Wen compared silently, making an assessment of Feng Xiaoshan's Stormwind Demon Wolf's 18 successive chops. Director Mo watched the entire process without any dissatisfaction or disappointment. Feng Xiaoshan's Stormwind Demon Wolf's 18 successful chops was undoubtedly a very good skill. Director Mo was responsible for teaching, and his insight and reasoning abilities were excellent. He was well aware that Feng Xiaoshan, due to his soul power level, could not fully unleash the full power of this self-created spirit skill and could only collide in a mutually destructive manner. When his soul power level improves, coupled with a few more spirit skills to complement this self-created spirit skill, his strength will definitely be among the top of the same level spirit masters. Therefore, Director Mo was satisfied with Feng Xiaoshan's performance in this battle. However, he was more amazed at Su Wen's ability to withstand Feng Xiaoshan's attacks throughout the entire fight. Your self-created spirit skill is very impressive, yours is impressive too. After consecutively using the same series of spirit skills a dozen times, Feng Xiaoshan didn't believe these were spirit skills attached to his spirit rings. He also speculated that they were Su Wen's self-created spirit skills. Without a doubt, this series of spirit skills, whether in attack or defense, close combat or ranged attacks, are at the top level. Su Wen didn't humble himself either. Although he drew inspiration from some works from his previous life, he also had his own innovations, such as developing the Rasengan interdefensive form that dissipates force through layers of swirling wind. However, my Stormwind Demon Wolf's 18 successive chops is not yet fully developed. When I perfect it to 36 consecutive strikes, or even higher, I will challenge you again, even in front of Su Wen. And despite showing satisfaction with Feng Xiaoshan's performance earlier, Director Mo now spoke directly, reprimanding him. You've delayed your own cultivation because of this self-created spirit skill. His tone was extremely severe, tinged with frustration. Soul power is the foundation of everything. Feng Xiaoshan bowed his head, accepting the criticism while also reflecting inwardly. Indeed, the 18 successive strikes were already his limit. If he wanted to further refine his technique, breaking through level 40 and obtaining the 4th spirit ring was imperative. Director Mo, I will enter seclusion as soon as possible and try to break through level 40, Feng Xiaoshan said. Seeing Feng Xiaoshan's sincere attitude towards admitting his mistake, Director Mo nodded in relief. The battle ends here, but the exchange is not over. Director Mo looked at Su Wen and said, Su Wen's visit this time is for exchange. Through battle, both sides sharpen each other, and afterward, he also want to communicate and discuss with you. Undoubtedly, the 7 battles just now had impressed Director Mo with Su Wen's skills. The exchange between the two sides would undoubtedly promote further progress for all 7 members of the Godwine team. At this moment, Feng, I think there's room for improvement in your Stormwind Demon Wolf's 18 successful chops, Su Wen suggested. Oh, Feng Xiaoshan listened attentively to Su Wen's suggestion. I've heard of a hammer technique from the Clear Sky sect called Disorder-Splitting Wind Hammer. It uses leverage to increase force, and after each strike, the current force can be added to the next layer, with a maximum of 81 layers of force accumulation. Clear Sky sect. The number 1 sect on the continent. The expressions of the group changed. Clearly, the intimidation factor of the Clear Sky sect was still very much present. The principle behind Disorder-Splitting Wind Hammer is similar to that of Stormwind Demon Wolf's 18 successful chops, but it can accumulate up to 81 layers of force. Hiss. The other 6 team members couldn't help but inhale sharply. It's understandable for the captain, although he specializes in offensive tactics, he's not exactly a strength-based attacker. But that Clear Sky Hammer is truly deserving of its reputation as the top tool martial spirit on the continent. Its strength is absolutely top-notch, especially when combined with 81 layers of force accumulation, too terrifying. Although the method your Stormwind Demon Wolf's 18 successive chops relies on wind conversion for accumulation, rather than accumulating strength, it's more about accumulating your previous speed, Su Wen explained until the core, and Feng Xia Ocean instantly understood Su Wen's meaning. 1. Are you suggesting that I should primarily accumulate speed? Su Wen nodded, affirming Feng Xia Ocean's statement. Also, your wind blade is too weak. It might be better to use wings as a slashing method. 2. Feng Xia Ocean nodded, indicating his willingness to try. The essence of a spirit master lies in soul power and oneself. Your endurance also limits your progress, Su Wen concluded, reiterating what Dr. Mo had previously mentioned to Feng Xia Ocean. Indeed, Feng Xia Ocean looked very much in agreement. He felt a clarity about the direction of his training for the next few years like never before. Following Su Wen's advice, he felt that there was still significant room for improvement in his Stormwind Demon Wolf's 18 successful chops. Brother Feng, your approach is actually quite extreme, causing too much damage to yourself with this move. Since you're accumulating speed and relying on wind control to achieve this, I suggest you don't need to resist the conversion with your own body, Su Wen advised. Feng Xia Ocean was also contemplating. In the past, if he had been pointed out this problem, he might not have understood, but now he grasped it somewhat. He looked at Su Wen and said, use a method similar to your wind dissipation to reduce the burden on my body. Exactly, Su Wen replied. Su Wen wasn't altruistic, while helping others. He also had his own motives. By pointing out some training issues for Feng Xia Ocean and arousing his interest in his techniques, he could also suggest improvements for Feng Xia Ocean's Stormwind Demon Wolf's 18 successive chops, which can be considered as payback for copying their martial spirits. Mutual benefit. As for this Stormwind Demon Wolf's 18 successive chops, Su Wen didn't need it, he just wanted to reference Feng Xia Ocean's conversion technique. While Feng Xia Ocean used this conversion technique to exert force, Su Wen could use the same technique to dissipate force, effectively neutralizing it. If you want to read 50 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109, Troublesome Enemies. Su Wen's interest was not on the explosive release of the 18 successive chops. He was only interested in the technique of using wind to convert and transfer force, for wind is dynamic. If Su Wen could master this technique, the defensive power of his power dissipation Rasengan could be qualitatively enhanced. Under layers of dissipation, any damage that could truly hit Su Wen's body would be minimal. 3. Moreover, if the dissipated force could be converted back into Su Wen's own power through the manipulation of wind, gathering into a whirlwind for a counterattack, it would be a good strategy to using force against force. The key was that Su Wen could also store power by manipulating wind, allowing him to accumulate the force of multiple enemy attacks. 3. Su Wen didn't disclose his thoughts, but Feng Xia Ocean still didn't refuse to share his techniques with Su Wen. After all, this was an equal exchange. The mutual exchange of techniques proceeded quickly. Even though Su Wen exchanged his own skills for the development experience of 7 people, his ability to digest and learn was strong. In just half a day, the discussion came to an end. Su Wen then headed to Wind Demon Valley, a constantly stormy valley, which served as the training ground for Nuoding Academy's students. In Wind Demon Valley, the deeper one delved, the stronger the effect of mimetic training for wind attribute spirit masters didn't rely solely on his strength to come here, but rather gradually advanced by controlling the wind. This was also one of the ways Wind Demon Valley trained its students, by advancing through the mastery of wind, much like practicing under a waterfall. The difference was that Su Wen almost always kept the violent wind separate from himself, attempting to make it his own and controlling it to flow past both sides of his body, then spinning behind him to counter the fierce winds ahead. Su Wen stayed at Nuoding Academy for a full 10 days. After digesting the gains from this experience, he followed Qin Ming's previous advice and headed straight for Elephant City. Unlike the Blazing and Nuoding Academies, Elephant Armored Academy was backed by the Elephant Armored Clan and was a directly subordinate academy. Although its educational purpose and methods were similar to those of Blazing and Nuoding, it had a clear affiliation. Currently, the relationship between the Elephant Armored Clan and the Heavendao royal family was somewhat tense. This added a hint of conflict to Su Wen's spirit fighter training this time. While Nuoding Academy was located northeast of the Heaven Dao Empire, the Elephant Armored Clan was quite far away, situated in the southeastern part of the empire. Although Qin Ming had advised Su Wen not to linger in the great spirit arenas of various cities, Su Wen wasn't undergoing this training for a mission in the first place. He had his own needs to attend to. He indeed did not linger in various great spirit arenas along the way, but he was constantly witnessing scenes, enriching his knowledge, and incorporating them into his contemplations one by one. After almost half a month, Elephant City. Su Wen arrived in Elephant City ahead of schedule. He stayed here for one night, and the Emperor combat team also arrived shortly after. "Xiao, you seem different altogether," Qin Ming exclaimed as he saw Su Wen again, more mature and even slightly world-weary feeling. Of course, this temperament, when reflected in Su Wen, showed more of a sense of maturity. For this time in Elephant City, "Xiao, try to keep a low profile," Qin Ming advised in advance. Su Wen nodded, but he didn't pay much attention to it in his heart. He knows that Douluo is secretly accompanying him, and he still has some confidence. Even if there are titled Douluo here, it is estimated that they would not risk offending Poison Douluo forcibly. Don't underestimate Poison Douluo just because he doesn't have many friends. He is a typical lone wolf, not individually strong in combat, but he can turn you into a lone wolf too. Two brothers Xiao, quickly replenish me, Ning Rongrong. Upon seeing Su Wen, first thing she did was replenish ammunition. After the torture of last time, she got smarter. Before, she indulged in eating, drinking, and watching battles, but over this past month, every time they reached a new city, Qin Ming arranged for her to spar with silver spirit fighters who were spirit grandmasters. She engaged in battles with both support and offense-oriented opponents. After each bout of training, Ning Rongrong's soul power bottlenecks also experienced some loosening. "Alright, I'll replenish you now," Su Wen patted Ning Rongrong's head and said. Over the past 2 years, Ning Rongrong's personality had already begun to change. Apart from maintaining her witch-like persona within the sect to preserve her pride, especially in front of Su Wen, she was obedient and docile. Even Ning Fengzi had noticed her transformation on multiple occasions. "Sister Yan, you seem completely different too," Su Wen noticed the change in Du Guyan. Having not seen each other for a whole month, Du Guyan's hair no longer had the purple sheen and had turned into black short hair, while her green pupils had returned to normal. This is the basic sign of toxin cleansing being complete. Moreover, Su Wen's perception is strong enough to sense the faint dragon ki emanating from Du Guyan. This should be attributed to long-term consumption of old Jerry's Earth Dragon small golden potato, combined with the absorption of that piece of spirit bone. After catching up, it was time to get down to business. Qin Ming returned to the rest area with the information about their opponents and distributed it to the 9 of them. This time, the opponent for the Emperor combat team is still the Silver Spirit Fighter team, as usual. Su Wen and Rongrong don't need to participate, they will directly engage in a 2v2 challenge against the Spirit Ancestors. "I've already registered your names." In this training session, Qin Ming arranged everything meticulously, fulfilling the duties of a teacher thoroughly. However, Su Wen knew that between Shrek and the Heaven Dao Imperial Academy, the latter might not hesitate to choose Shrek. Because of this, he actually harbored some resistance towards Qin Ming. The differences in the cultivation between Shrek and Qin Ming's efforts at the Heaven Dao Imperial Academy are quite evident. However, now that Qin Ming is still their teacher and fully committed to fulfilling his duties, Su Wen has always been very cooperative. But Xiao, your opponents this time are a bit troublesome. The opponent matching is randomly arranged by the Great Spirit Arena. Unless both sides agree to voluntary match and it has significant appeal, they must adhere to the matching mechanism. This time, the opponents matched with Su Wen and the others made Qin Ming very serious. Martial spirits and are also formidable in attack. Qin Ming introduced the opponent's information to Su Wen and the others. Most importantly, their soul power levels are both above level 45. If you want to read 50 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 110, Fiery Heavenly Sun. All of them have soul power exceeding level 45. These are already elite disciples within the Elephant Armored Clan. Su Wen nodded, not underestimating these two opponents. The Diamond Mammoth is considered the top defensive martial spirit across the entire continent, with defensive capabilities on par with the martial spirit of the Defense Clan. What's crucial is that not all Diamond Mammoth Spirit Masters have fully attached defensive spirit rings. Aside from being top-notch in defense, the diamond mammoth is also extremely proficient in strength. It can be said that every diamond mammoth spirit master is both proficient in offense and defense. A diamond mammoth spirit master who has absorbed 4 spirit rings and reached the spirit ancestor level is undoubtedly already well formed. Su Wen's actual soul power is a solid level 48, not inferior to theirs in terms of soul power. However, having replicated too many martial spirits, Su Wen's maintenance of these replications consumes a considerable amount of soul power. Even in full force combat now, his soul power still doesn't match that of a level 45 spirit ancestor. Wrong. Once the battle begins, you fly into the sky and support me with spirit skills, Su Wen instructed. Although this would add pressure to Ning Rongrong, it was a situation clearly beyond her capabilities, so Su Wen chose to have her not participate directly in the battle. Engraved pages are not meant for combat but for survival, especially for support-type spirit masters. Okay, Brother Xiaoan, now, let's welcome the Modesty Brings Progress duo against the Huayan twin heroes. Su Wen and Ning Rongrong stepped onto the stage. On the opposite side, the Huayan brothers, Huayan Daxing and Huayan Erkshan, took the stage. Both of them were burly in stature, with fierce expressions. Even from a distance, one could feel their imposing presence. The match begins. Ning Rongrong immediately released her 7 treasure-glazed tile pagoda martial spirit, with green wings condensed behind her, flying into the sky. At the same time, 2 beams of light fell upon Su Wen. The 7 treasures spin out with luster, renowned for their 7 attributes. One is strength, the other is speed. On the opposite side, the Huayan twin heroes released their martial spirits. After their already burly figures were enveloped by their martial spirits, they grew even larger in size. Both brothers had the optimal combination of 2 yellow and 2 purple spirit rings. Their first spirit rings lit up simultaneously. First spirit skill, Copper Wall, Iron Wall, a radiant glow enveloped their robust bodies, their skin taking on the color of bronze and iron. Second spirit skill, Unmatched Strength. As the second spirit skill was unleashed, the brothers' aura became even more wild. Their bodies swelled once again, muscles bulging as if containing explosive power states. Regardless of anything else, as purple gold spirit fighter badge holders, basic respect must be given. Su Wen's soul power surged, flames burning all around him. Raging inferno. Terrifying flames swept through the entire arena, consuming a considerable amount of Su Wen's soul power. However, these expenditures were all worthwhile to Grace. The host's forehead beaded with sweat as he quickly moved away from the center of the stage, providing commentary from the sidelines. The white fireball continued to grow, providing power to the entire field of fiery heavenly sun. Boom. 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 Around the Huayan twin heroes, 3 massive rocks fell to the ground, smashing 3 deep craters into the arena. They stood firm in their original positions, exerting a sudden oppressive force within the area enclosed by the 3 rocks. The expressions of the Huayan twin heroes slightly changed. Their third spirit rings simultaneously flickered. Third spirit skill, Mammoth Giant Demon Transformation. Bearing the oppressive force within the massive rock formation, the 2 brothers charged towards Su Wen. Su Wen also unleashed the fire demon style within the fiery heavenly sun's domain. Flames swirled around him, enlarging his body by a considerable margin. Boom. Flame Fist. Flame Palm. Flame Vortex. Su Wen mobilized the power of flames within the fiery heavenly sun's domain, continuously utilizing various explosive techniques as if they were not consuming any energy. A fierce wind arose. The flames within the fiery heavenly sun's domain were carried by the raging wind, forming a flame tornado. Huayan Daxing's face grew solemn. With white light shimmering around him, he endured the damage from the flame tornado. The constant oppressive force, coupled with Su Wen's continuous onslaught, left the 2 brothers with no way to approach Su Wen. Erkshan, Huayan Daxing roared loudly, unleashing his 4th spirit skill. 4th spirit skill, Mammoth Heavy Cannon. The surrounding air compressed frantically as white light spots converged, and his right fist slammed out forcefully. The air cannon briefly cleared a path through the flames along its trajectory. Huayan Erkshan exerted all his strength, charging towards Su Wen while also unleashing his 4th spirit skill. 4th spirit skill, Crushing Pressure. Su Wen felt a force locking him in place, rendering his feet immobile. Huayan Daxing struck again with a heavy fist, and the air cannon struck Su Wen. Waves of airflow rippled, dissipating the force. In the end, Su Wen's body was covered in rocks, which absorbed the final impact. Huai's action didn't stop his assault. The effects of the crushing pressure were still active as he leaped into the air and launched another air cannon. This time, Su Wen conjured 3 large rocks to form a barrier in front of him, while vortex-shaped winds formed outside of this barrier. Boom! Taking 2 consecutive blows from Huai's action forcefully, Su Wen's blood surged. Wind generated beneath his feet to prevent himself from being controlled again by Huai's action. At the same time, he kept his distance from the Huai brothers, continuously unleashing Flame Fist. Flames exploded on his fists, rotating and blasting out with tremendous force up to 3 meters away. Under the combined boost of strength and speed, Su Wen's bursts became even more powerful. Within the fiery Heavenly Sun's domain, Su Wen's utilization of the Fire Demon style not only inflicted higher damage but also felt easier to execute, with his energy expenditure almost negligible. The Diamond Mammoth exhibited extreme endurance and formidable defense. Both sides entered a stalemate too. So, this is the fiery Heavenly Sun. Qin Ming watched the entire battle, deeply impressed by the flames Su Wen unleashed. The coverage of flames over such a large area inherently consumed a significant amount of soul power. Su Wen gradually developed and strengthened the flames within the domain. This was not something he could accomplish instantly. As the battle progressed, he gradually intensified the flames within the domain. Boom! Roar! The Huai brothers roared as they collided with Su Wen, crashing heavily to the ground unrestrained. The state of their martial spirits gradually faded. Seeing this, the host began the countdown. The winners of this match are the Modesty Brings Progress duo. If you want to read 50 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 111, Su Wen's Sense of Urgency. In this battle, Su Wen finally experienced pressure. Even the mutated Gale Stormwind double-aided Wolf of Fengxia Ocean was only close to the top-tier martial spirit. The Diamond Mammoth, on the other hand, was a completely top-tier martial spirit, on par with Yushai and Heng's Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon, with outstanding defense and strength. Coupled with being outnumbered 2-1, Su Wen truly felt the pressure. In the Spirit Grandmaster and even Spirit Elder Realm, Su Wen's strength was overwhelmingly invincible at the same level. However, with the advancement of soul power to the current Spirit Ancestor Realm, Su Wen showed signs of fatigue. My martial spirit has indeed evolved to the top tier, but ultimately lacks a distinctive combat characteristic, without the defense and strength of the Diamond Mammoth, without the destruction and power of the Clear Sky Hammer, and without the strong attack attribute of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon. Now, all of Su Wen's strength is developed by himself. The Fire Demon style enables him to be invincible among peers in the Spirit Grandmaster and even Spirit Elder Realm. It's because his methods are perfected, he has a large number of spirit skills, and they burst forth strongly. Just like Haoning Fengzi and others currently believe, Su Wen's extraordinary soul power cultivation speed is because he enjoys the fusion degree of higher-level spirit masters in advance. At this moment, Su Wen's strength among peers is also similar. Although his advantage is not due to possessing abilities that only higher-level spirit masters have, these advantages themselves are the advantages of higher-level spirit masters over lower-level ones. As Su Wen and his opponent's soul power increase, Su Wen may still have advantages in the number, quality, and outbreak of spirit skills, but they won't be as prominent. However, with the Fire Demon style and the Fiery Heavenly Sun, at least Su Wen will stand undefeated among peers in the future. As long as the Fiery Heavenly Sun domain is activated, Su Wen can win battles relying on consumption and the combat methods of the Fire Demon style without any problems. At most, he might lose the ability to quickly resolve battles within a short period. I have the 4th ring, but the 4th spirit skill, Replication, is not a battle-type spirit skill, so my advantage is further weakened. Su Wen's 4th spirit skill is used to assist in cultivation and enrich his own combat methods. However, the benefits are also obvious. At least Su Wen is truly versatile and won't be restrained by his development direction. He can attack, defend, be agile in attack, engage in both melee and ranged combat, and even fly. This battle made Su Wen reflect on many things. It also instilled a sense of urgency in him. Comparing himself to ordinary spirit masters at the same level is not his goal. Only by comparing himself to those outstanding individuals can he understand his shortcomings. Tang San's twin martial spirits, if we truly wait until later stages, with 18 spirit rings and spirit skills, plus the Tang sect's unique techniques, and even the Clear Sky Hammer with all 10,000 years old or above spirit rings, my advantages are completely negligible. 1 currently, his spirit ring configuration seems to surpass most people, but when compared to twin martial spirits like Tang San's, it suddenly seems to lose its edge. Tang San hasn't fully matured yet. So this comparison might seem a bit premature, but there are already mature twin martial spirits on the continent, such as the current Pope, Bibi Dong. I only have one martial spirit, and if I want to ensure that my martial spirit's development can compete with their twin martial spirits as much as possible, before taking the immortal grass, all of Su Wen's plans were very cautious. Since taking the immortal grass and undergoing his own evolution, he has become much more confident, with even his ambitions and ideas becoming bolder. The lifespan of the first 3 spirit rings is still too low. If the first 3 spirit rings were 10,000 years old spirit rings, even if the 4th spirit ring is not used for combat, Su Wen would still be in a position to easily defeat other spirit ancestors. So, the method for replacing spirit rings needs to be developed as soon as possible. As for methods to increase the lifespan of spirit rings, Su Wen only knows that soul technology from future generations and divine examinations can achieve this. Both of these are currently beyond his reach. To increase the lifespan of the first 3 spirit rings, he only has one known method left. That is the method of ring replacement. Tang San resurrected Xiao Wu by sacrificing his own spirit rings. After sacrificing the spirit rings, he successfully absorbed the same type of spirit rings again. While it may have involved the help of the sea god, at least this method is feasible. The sea god perhaps helped stabilize Tang San's martial spirit and spirit ring positions, preventing him from dying due to the loss of spirit rings or his martial spirit's origin being counterattacked. The abilities of the gods are indeed mysterious in the Douluo continent. But that doesn't mean only gods can do it. Su Wen has confidence in the various abilities he currently possesses. The ring's fusion technique, control over martial spirit space, and his extremely strong perception of his own situation, these are all his strengths. They are also the basis for his belief that he can develop the method of ring replacement. Currently, only one aspect is lacking, ring explosion. In fact, Su Wen has never given up on exploring the method of ring replacement. However, while he has figured out how to stabilize himself and his martial spirit after losing a spirit ring, he still lacks a method to replace the sacrifice. Ring explosion is the method he idealizes as most suitable to replace the sacrificed ring. Completely blow up the spirit ring, thus releasing the spirit ring position. However, before completely blowing up the spirit ring, Su Wen needs to use the ring explosion secret technique to sense the process of the spirit ring exploding. Great Spirit Arena. While Su Wen was fighting against the Huayan twin heroes, a burly man observed the entire match from the spectator area. After the battle ended, the man remained lost in thought. "Young master," 2 figures beside the man respectfully spoke up. These 2 figures were none other than the recently defeated Huayan twin heroes. And the man they referred to as young master was naturally Huayan Li, the eldest grandson of Huayan Zhen, the current head of the Elephant Armored Clan, and the heir to the position of the next clan head. "You've done your best in today's battle. Let's go back to the clan with me, and you can give a detailed report on your experiences in this battle." There was a glint of insight in Huayan Li's eyes. Without wasting any time, he quickly departed with the Huayan twin heroes. Elephant Armored Clan. Master, that ignorant scholar showed remarkable bursts of strength and endurance. He engaged in intense combat with us brothers for a long time without showing any signs of fatigue. After listening to the first-hand experiences of the 2 brothers, Huayan Zhen waved his hand to dismiss them and turned his gaze to his grandson. He cherished Huayan Li greatly, had even found a head spirit bone early on for Huayan Li, preparing him for absorption. Now, he wanted to hear his grandson's thoughts on that ignorant scholar. "Liar, since you've reported this battle to me, I assume you have some insights," Huayan Zhen asked softly. Huayan Li smiled confidently and said, "Grandfather, I was present at the scene. What big brother and second brother said is indeed true, but they failed to notice one thing: the opponent had too many spirit skills." Zhen nodded, indicating for Huayan Li to continue his analysis. Creating a fiery environment spirit skill, a strong fire attribute attack spirit skill, wind attribute defensive spirit skill, earth attribute defensive and control spirit skill, at least 5 categories of spirit skills. Not to mention the white fireball above the fiery environment he created, which I suspect is another spirit skill. It's the combination of this skill with his ability to create a fiery environment that gives him that terrifying endurance in battle. If you want to read 50 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 112, Looming Threat. Huayanzhen nodded repeatedly as he listened to his grandson's analysis of the situation with ignorant scholar. The summary was very apt. Even if we exclude possible derivative methods of spirit skills, the abilities displayed by ignorant scholar could be summarized into at least 5 major spirit skills, all of which are standard spirit skills at the very least. If, hypothetically, ignorant scholar is a spirit ancestor, then we can assume he possesses a self-created spirit skill. However, according to the intelligence from the Great Spirit Arena, Su Wen's challenge this time is a cross-level challenge, meaning Su Wen is only a spirit elder. 5 major spirit skills. Could there possibly be 2 self-created spirit skills among them? Based on your descriptions, if I'm not mistaken, the spirit skill that ignorant scholar released to create the flaming battlefield and the white fireballs should be Fiery Heavenly Sun. Fiery Heavenly Sun. Huayanli obviously didn't know much about it. Huayanzhen nodded, saying, Fiery Heavenly Sun is a self-created spirit skill of that guy from the Blazing Academy. The spirit skill displayed by the ignorant scholar you mentioned matches his Fiery Heavenly Sun in various aspects. Furthermore, considering his background, I can basically conclude that what Su Wen displayed was indeed that guy's Fiery Heavenly Sun. Huayanzhen squinted his eyes. Background. Huayanli expressed confusion. The name ignorant scholar actually has quite a reputation in the Great Spirit Arena, Huayanzhen explained. Not all major cities have a gold spirit fighter badge in their Great Spirit Arena, yet Su Wen managed to obtain a purple gold spirit fighter badge in the Spirit Grandmaster realm. Information about Su Wen has spread among the Great Spirit Arenas in various cities. However, these communications are only circulated among the higher-ups within the Great Spirit Arenas. Additionally, influential forces closely connected to the Great Spirit Arenas in different regions also receive some information. Moreover, Su Wen not only possesses a purple gold spirit fighter badge, but he also caused another sensation previously. The second ring of the 1,000 years old. The act of changing one's appearance only deceives ordinary spectators. This is unavoidable, everything leaves traces, and in the process of a spirit master's growth, it's impossible to completely erase all of one's past. Even if disguising one's identity, many times it's done to temporarily deceive or fade out of the sight of certain people. Therefore, upon hearing Su Wen's title as ignorant scholar, Huayanzhen first felt familiar with it, then, listening to the description from the Huayan twin heroes, gradually recalled information about Su Wen. He's got a 1,000 years old second ring, and he inherited from Fire Demon Xiaozan. Back then, Fire Demon Xiaozan had a close relationship with Hoshianniang. It's not impossible for ignorant scholar to have inherited Fiery Heavenly Sun. Huayanli nodded, but didn't quite grasp the full connection. He only understood that apparently, what Su Wen had learned was indeed Fiery Heavenly Sun, and there was more information to be uncovered. As for Fire Demon Xiaozan, I truly admire him. Although his Fire Demon style is also based on his own spirit skill, the Fire Demon style is essentially a system built from scratch. Hoshianniang is also a genius, but his self-created spirit skill, Fiery Heavenly Sun, is actually more about the development and integration of existing spirit skills. The development and integration of existing spirit skills, Huayanli repeated, seeking clarification. Huayanzhen evidently had some contact with Hoshianniang and had a certain understanding of him. Fiery Heavenly Sun involves at least 3 fire attribute spirit skills. It is only by using these 3 major spirit skills as a foundation and further developing and integrating them that Fiery Heavenly Sun can be executed. Huayanli widened his eyes, suddenly understanding his grandfather's meaning. Grandpa, are you saying his spirit skills are more than just 5? That's right. Huayanzhen's eyes sparkled with insight. Collecting spirit rings to gather the corresponding spirit skills actually requires luck, but there's one thing that doesn't require luck, Huayanli exclaimed. He had speculated about this before. Now, after hearing Huayanzhen's analysis and learning that Su Wen may possess more spirit skills than he had initially concluded, Huayanli immediately confirmed his own answer. That's right, that ignorant scholar must have spirit bones, and at least 2 of them. One Huayanli's spirit surged. Evidently, he had an idea. Seeing the expression on his grandson's face, Huayanzhen nodded silently to himself. Compared to his fire attribute spirit skills, I actually think his abilities in wind and earth attributes come from spirit bones, Huayanzhen speculated. Grandpa, Huayanli looked at Huayanzhen, his eyes revealing a determination. Ha, liar, since he's come to us and exposed so much, we naturally can't let it slip by. But you must understand, always plan before you act. Huayanzhen laughed heartily. Then is this ignorant scholar acting alone? Huan Li shook his head, saying, "There's also a spirit master from the 7 treasure glazed tile sect." Besides a spirit master from the 7 treasure glazed tile sect, Huan Li shook his head, genuinely unsure. "Let's wait. I'll have someone investigate. He couldn't have come from Heavendao City to our Elephant City alone, there must be someone accompanying him. We need to gather information about his situation first before we make a move." "Yes, Grandpa," Huan Li replied thoughtfully, indicating that he understood. Su Wen was unaware that he was being targeted. Just because the other party didn't believe that one person could master so many self-created spirit skills, it was an unjust calamity. If he knew someone was targeting his spirit bones, he would surely be alarmed. He didn't know how his possession of 100,000 years old spirit bone had been leaked. But if he knew the reason, he would surely cry foul. Su Wen's replication of the diamond mammoth's martial spirit had increased the burden of the replication spirit skill. This made his requirements for the next replication of martial spirit even more demanding. Of course, whenever he encountered something intriguing, he would first replicate it. After replication, he would try it out, and if it didn't meet his requirements, he would choose to abandon it. 3 days later. Elephant Armored Clan. Huan Zhen, after reviewing the intelligence gathered about ignorant scholar over the past 3 days, made his final decision. It's just a Qin Ming. Even if he's a genius, his abilities are limited, and we can take action. This was good news that relieved him. However, the composition of the Emperor fighting team made him gasp in astonishment, and he thought to himself, this time, we'll only deal with ignorant scholar, and it's best not to involve the others like Yu Shai and Heng. Too, he had considered whether ignorant scholar might be associated with any major power, but with at least 2 spirit bones in hand, he couldn't ignore it. Bring him in. 4 days had passed. This time, the group had spent 7 days in Elephant City, packing up their belongings in preparation to depart. We're currently not far south from the border between the 2 great empires. As the borderland between the 2 empires, the nearby mountains and terrain are rugged, naturally separating the 2 empires. During the journey, Qin Ming took the opportunity to educate the students during their leisure time. During a break, Su Wen approached Qin Ming alone. "Teacher Qin Ming, I'd like to observe the surrounding area and make some notes on the terrain," Su Wen requested. During the journey from Heavendao City, Su Wen had also requested to record the terrain while the team rested, claiming he was practicing imitation cultivation. Qin Ming didn't object. Seeing Su Wen still attempting, he roughly understood that Su Wen's imitation cultivation was successful. "Go ahead. Although there are spirit beasts in the mountains here, most are only 100 years old," Qin Ming reassured, not expecting any mishaps. If you want to read 50 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 113, New Feature of Phantom Eye. Su Wen arrived at a steep mountain peak, overlooking the terrain of the mountains and rivers below. Sea of Consciousness. Above the original ice and fire yin-yang wellspring, the heavenly book now recorded all of Su Wen's experiences. The spring changed, as if the pages of a book were turning one after another, displaying various landscapes of mountains and rivers. In addition to the landscapes, there were many martial spirits that Su Wen understood from replication. These martial spirits were visualized into the pages of the book, as Su Wen attempted to alleviate the pressure of the 4th spirit skill replication. Currently, it was still progressing step by step, with only blurry images of martial spirits appearing, and the specific spirit skills had not yet been clearly visualized. Su Wen outlined a scene, integrating it into a new page. And there's this. The reason for persistently observing the major mountain ranges is not only to perfect the visualization method, but also for Su Wen's development of his earth element control. In his palm, the heaven and earth energy of the earth attribute gathered, forming a mountain peak. The peak expanded, instantly transforming into a small mountain, landing in the distance with a rumbling sound. After observing so many real mountains, Su Wen also grasped a certain artistic conception, integrating it into his control of the earth element, thus condensing the small mountain peak. Su Wen changed the form of the mountain peak. Su Wen's mind, and he condensed it again. This time, as the shape of the seal changed, the sense of weight and pressure emanating from it becomes even stronger. He incorporated a stone formation into it. The seal is divided into 3 major sections, blending with each other to form a whole, yet each part independently overlaps faintly with the others, releasing a terrifying sense of oppression. Before it even descends, it's already sending shivers down one's spine. Boom. Dust filled the air. The earth cracked. This move is called the mountain overturning seal. Su Wen's face suddenly changed, his gaze alert, while he fully activated the phantom eye, using its simulated spirit skill to conceal his forehead where the phantom eye is located. A sense of danger rushed over him. At this moment, Su Wen felt his forehead throbbing, as if some huge threat is approaching faintly. This is a sensation he has never experienced before. Another function of the phantom eye, one at this moment, Su Wen doesn't have time to dwell on this effect of the phantom eye. Instead, he held his breath, focuses his mind, pondering the possible sources of the crisis, and designing escape strategies. He didn't believe he can handle a threat that triggers a sense of danger in the phantom eye. After all, even the mirror image beast didn't make Su Wen feel this kind of danger, triggering a warning from the phantom eye waiting for the crisis to unfold. He needed to figure out the root of the crisis. Otherwise, even if he managed to escape, he might still be pursued. Next time, he might not have the convenient conditions for escape as he did now. Time passed. 1 second, 3 seconds. 1 minute resemblance in the demeanor of the person before him to the Huayan twin heroes. Having replicated the Diamond Mammoth martial spirit, he knew it was the aura released by the Diamond Mammoth martial spirit, and the similarity in appearance due to their bloodline one Su Wen, these past few days. Even the Elephant Armored clan had heard of Su Wen's name. Su Wen fully activated the phantom eye, sensing the other person's soul power realm. Stronger than Uncle Yang, perhaps the head of the Elephant Armored clan, Huayan Zhen, his heart sank, unsure of where he had provoked the other party. It's okay if you don't speak, just hand over the spirit bone. Huayan Zhen wasted no words, already pressing Su Wen with soul power, while his martial spirit had also completed possession. There was no manifestation of the martial spirit's true form. It was just a martial spirit's possession. However, compared to the Huayan twin heroes, at this moment, Huayan Zhen was already quite close to the Diamond Mammoth, with little difference in his huge stature and momentum from the Diamond Mammoth. Spirit bone. Su Wen's pupils contracted. Naturally, his first thought was of the blue-silver emperor right leg bone on his body. But in just an instant, he was certain that the spirit bone Huayan Zhen mentioned was not his blue-silver emperor right leg bone. However, he only had 2 spirit bones on his body. One blue-silver emperor right leg bone, and the other is his phantom eye external spirit bone. The blue-silver emperor right leg bone was impossible to be known, and the phantom eye was even less likely for the other party to know about. Based on my guess, you have at least 2 spirit bones on your body. Huayan Zhen stepped closer, the pressure on Su Wen increasing. However, just now, I began to doubt my own speculation. Huayan Zhen sighed, seeming to admire Su Wen. I never thought that the many spirit skills you displayed in the Great Spirit Arena, as well as the basic spirit skill of the fiery heavenly sun, would be self-created spirit skills, because I don't believe there could be such a logical existence on the continent. 3 However, just now, I had to admit that your spirit skills might all be self-created. Su Wen's heart sank. Damn it, he had been too speculative with too little knowledge. At the same time, he also understood that Huayan Zhen might have sensed from his recent reaction that he truly. However, your recent reaction also has to make me rejoice. You definitely have a spirit bone on you. Su Wen took a deep breath. Now that the senior knows my identity and the origin of my fiery heavenly sun, you should also know that I'm not alone here. However, if I kill you here, who would know? Huayan Zhen said in a deep voice. You're the one who strayed so far from the team on your own, no need to. As a spirit elder, you can't escape from my soul power suppression. Huayan Zhen looked like he had everything under control. I regret to inform you that I don't have a spirit bone. Su Wen sighed. Indeed, Huayan Zhen did have overwhelming power over him, but he had made a mistake about one thing. I am a spirit ancestor with a soul power level of 48. Su Wen struggled out an earth spirit ginseng from his storage tool. This was the corpse of the earth ginseng left behind by old Jerry after absorbing the second spirit ring, preserved by Douluo's medicinal effects and handed over to Su Wen. Huayan Zhen frowned, not understanding why Su Wen would take out such a precious earth ginseng at this moment. Su Wen stuffed the earth ginseng into his mouth and swallowed it in one gulp. Originally, the replication spirit skill was sustained solely by his own soul power. However, the continuously released medicinal power of the earth ginseng now turned into soul power to offset the consumption. At the same time, it rapidly restored Su Wen's soul power. Even the source soul power powering the martial spirit space was mostly drawn out by Su Wen. In just an instant, Su Wen's soul power had recovered to its peak level of 48. Boom! He erupted all of his soul power in an instant, breaking free from Hu Ainzhen's oppression and fleeing towards the rear. Behind him was a cliff. Hu Ainzhen's face changed slightly, not expecting Su Wen to break free from his restraint. He directly released his spirit skills, with a third and fifth spirit rings shining outside his body, one purple and one black. Third spirit skill, crushing pressure. Fifth spirit skill, gravity squeeze. If you want to read 50 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 114, Grandpa Doulou, he's the one who laid hands on me. Su Wen felt his feet sink, controlled by a constraining force. He quickly mobilized soul power to strike. Replicating the diamond mammoth martial spirit, he had experienced crushing pressure, and had also studied it. At this moment, as Su Wen's soul power surged, his spiritual power enveloped him completely. Boom! The crushing pressure, which was already hastily applied, was quickly nullified by Su Wen's targeted counterattack. However, at this moment, Hu Ainzhen's gravity squeeze had also descended. Although called gravity squeeze, it was actually a force of oppression within its range. Gravity squeeze is a spirit skill that many martial spirits could acquire. Zhao Wuji's vigorous Vajra bear possessed this spirit skill, where his gravity squeeze was a pulling force erupting from the ground, as well as manipulating the air within the range to oppress enemies. In contrast, for Hu Ainzhen with a diamond mammoth martial spirit, accustomed to pressuring others with force, his gravity squeeze was a force of oppression descending from the sky. Above Su Wen, vortex-like winds appeared, weakening the oppressive force layer by layer. If this oppressive force was rated at 100, then Su Wen, in just a brief moment, weakened it consecutively 18 times with vortex-like winds, each time reducing it by 2. Among them, 9 times of the force released were converted by Su Wen. The winds swiftly rotated in place, changing direction after a rotation, counteracting against a force of gravity, and neutralizing roughly the equivalent of 10 units of damage. By such means, Su Wen had nearly halved the oppressive force. A burst of flames erupted within him as he dashed towards the cliff behind him. Enduring the impact of this oppressive force had caused Su Wen's internal organs to violently tremble, with a faint sense of tearing. Hu Ainzhen, I'll remember this grudge. Su Wen leaped fiercely into the cliff. Driven by the winds, his descent speed was extremely fast, and in an instant, he disappeared from sight. After his vision vanished, Su Wen condensed his wings and changed the direction of his fall, flying towards where the team was located. On the cliff, Hu Ainzhen's face turned ugly. It wasn't so much that he thought Su Wen's return would bring trouble, but he simply found it embarrassing. As a dignified level 89 spirit Douluo, personally taking action, yet still letting Su Wen escape, it was a great humiliation. He has control over the wind element, demonstrated flying skills, so it's unlikely he would fall to his death. Hu Ainzhen pondered the possibility of Su Wen returning to the team. Very slim. However, he was prepared to wait and see. But just as he descended from the mountain, before he even approached the Emperor fighting team's encampment, Hu Ainzhen felt a chill, his hair standing on end. His gaze fixed firmly on the elderly and the young before him. Grandpa Doulou, it's him. Su Wen pointed at Hu Ainzhen. 3 Douluo's cold eyes turned towards Hu Ainzhen, with a shadow of the jade phosphor serpent emperor faintly coalescing behind him, poison, gas spreading. Hu Ainzhen, the more you cultivate, the more you regress, actually laying hands on the younger generation, Douluo said with a cold and eerie tone. This excuse was his favorite one because no matter who it was in front of him, they wouldn't dare to confront him on two. You were just thinking about killing me to take my spirit bone, Su Wen retorted, curling his lips. Douluo's face darkened as he looked at Hu Ainzhen, questioning, Hu Ainzhen, shouldn't you give a reasonable explanation? With such flimsy excuses, are you looking down on me, the poisoned Douluo? Hu Ainzhen couldn't help but feel uneasy. The gap between Spirit Douluo and Title Douluo wasn't something top-tier martial spirits could bridge. After all, to reach this level, martial spirits that weren't top-tier had already been eliminated. While Title Douluo had completed the process of solidifying their soul power, their burst and endurance far surpassed those of Spirit Douluo. Even though Hu Ainzhen was already at level 89, and even though Douluo was only at level 91, jokingly referred to as the weakest Title Douluo, Hu Ainzhen dared not look down on Douluo one, not just in terms of pure strength, but considering other factors, he dared even less. Now that he had been caught by poisoned Douluo for laying hands on a junior, Huai Zhen truly feared that if mishandled, poison Douluo might go crazy and spread poison to the elephant-armored clan. One rumor say Douluo is reclusive and unpredictable in temperament. Thinking of this, Huai Zhen felt even more bitter. Unsettling than that, Huai Zhen truly regretted not dealing with Su Wen more decisively earlier. Of course, such regret was now impossible to act upon, so he felt a hint of relief deep down. Fortunately, I didn't actually act. Douluo's temper is unpredictable and hard to gauge. What if Su Wen were to inexplicably disappear right after arriving in Elephant City? With enough manpower mobilized, it would actually be possible to investigate the elephant-armored clan's recent activities within the Great Spirit Arena for the past 7 days. In such a scenario, poison Douluo might indeed resort to poisoning. This was a deduction made by Huai Zhen based on the interaction between Su Wen and Douluo. If the conditions he mentioned were quite ordinary. Spirit bone is something that can't be obtained easily. Are you telling me that a dignified spirit Douluo like you can't even acquire a piece of spirit bone? Douluo sneered, mocking him. Moreover, your elephant-armored clan is such a large sect, with a long lineage, and each generation of clan leaders has been a spirit Douluo. I refuse to believe that there are no exceptionally high-quality spirit bones among your possessions. Upon hearing Douluo mentioning his elephant-armored clan, Huai Zhen felt even more helpless. From Douluo's words, he sensed a threat. Your elephant-armored clan has been passed down for so long, it's such a large sect, and each generation of clan leaders has worked so hard to develop it to its current state. You wouldn't want your clan to decline because of you, would you? Su Wen, on the side, also approved an approval of Douluo's threat. That's right. It should be like this. Although Huai Zhen definitely didn't know the value of the 2 spirit bones he intended to seize, Su Wen certainly couldn't afford to lose them. One after all. The 2 spirit bones on Su Wen's body were the most precious treasures in the Spirit Master world. One was an external spirit bone, which is rare to come by, and the other was 100,000 years old spirit bone. So, compensation must be sought. Grandpa Doulou, this old guy suspected that I have 2 spirit bones on me, Su Wen said, arching his eyebrows to as for whether Huai Zhen would seek revenge later. Su Wen expressed no concern. Douluo looked at Huai Zhen, his expression even colder, and the oppressive aura he emitted grew stronger. And it was precisely this point that made Huai Zhen feel even more pressure. Because rumors that Douluo was stuck at level 91 after breaking through to title Douluo seemed to be false. Douluo's current soul power oppression was definitely not that of a level 91. Huai Zhen said that inaccurate intelligence could really kill people. My clan has a 5,000 years old head spirit bone. Are you begging for alms? Su Wen took advantage of his position and shouted for, if you want to read 50 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 115, I really don't have a spirit bone. Huai Zhen's face turned ugly. Looking at the expressions of Su Wen and Douluo, he didn't see any dissatisfaction from Douluo towards Su Wen's face. Even from Douluo's reaction, it seemed to be a protective attitude towards Su Wen. What exactly is the relationship between Su Wen and Douluo? Huai Zhen felt as uncomfortable as if he had eaten shit at the moment. The elephant-armored clan is one of the 7 major clans on the continent. Do you mean to say there's only one 5,000-year-old spirit bone? Douluo mocked. Huai Zhen felt uneasy. A head spirit bone. A head spirit bone. Can't you hear it? Not to mention this is the head spirit bone he prepared for Huai Li. Among the 6 types of spirit bone, the head spirit bone is the most precious. These 2 individuals obviously chose to hear selectively. Although the elephant-armored clan ranks among the 7 major clans, it is not at the bottom, but rather the 6th-ranked major clan, yet it still lacks the depth compared to the top 3 clans. Among the 7 major clans on the continent, the top 3 have separate appellations, indicating their long-standing heritage and unshakable status. The rest of these clans, including the elephant-armored clan, mostly do not have a particularly long lineage. Within the elephant-armored clan, spirit bones do exist, but they are not something that can be casually used. Among them, there are only 3 10,000-year-old spirit bones, one of which Huai Zhen did not absorb due to duplication issues and kept it in the clan's treasure vault, while the other 2 are on Huai Zhen himself. Apart from the 10,000-year-old spirit bones, this 5,000-year-old head spirit bone is considered the most valuable one overall. Douluo observed Huai Zhen's hesitant demeanor and roughly assessed the elephant-armored clan's situation. Huai Zhen, you should also understand the significance of Xiao's second ring. I'm already giving you face by only asking for two 10,000-year-old spirit bones, he stated. For the shortfall, add another 1,000-year-old spirit bone, Douluo said casually. As he spoke, he secretly harbored murderous intentions towards Huaizhen, making Huaizhen feel a deadly threat. Huaizhen gritted his teeth and agreed to Douluo's solution. Alright, I'm willing to offer 3 spirit bones to settle this grudge, but the spirit bones are kept within the clan. I don't carry them on me. No problem, I'll personally accompany you. Douluo waved his hand, indicating that it wasn't an issue. As Su Wen returned to the team, Douluo followed Huaizhen to the Elephant Armored Clan to retrieve the spirit bones. Within the Elephant Armored Clan, handing over the 3 spirit bones to Douluo made Huaizhen's heart bleed. The value of the head spirit bone was no less than that of the 10,000-year-old spirit bones. Calculating it, the Elephant Armored Clan essentially possessed 4 10,000-year-old spirit bones, but now they had lost 2 of them. Nearly half of the clan's heritage had vanished in an instant. Well, Huaizhen, I hope the news about Su Wen having spirit bones won't spread, and no one will lay a hand on him in the future. Otherwise, I will come back to your Elephant Armored Clan to demand an explanation. Douluo left these words before departing, leaving Huaizhen once again frustrated and angry. Roar! Huaizhen's martial spirit manifested, and the massive diamond mammoth stomped in place, causing the ground to shake and nearby buildings to tremble. As Su Wen returned to the team, he was called out by Douluo alone at night. You lad, don't go out to record any terrain during this time, Douluo advised. Although he had issued a warning to Huaizhen earlier, there's only one life to live. Even if Douluo were to poison all the descendants of the Elephant Armored Clan, it wouldn't bring him back if Su Wen were to die. Su Wen nodded, indicating he understood the pros and cons. Take a look at these 3 spirit bones and see if you need any, Douluo said, taking out 3 spirit bones for Su Wen to choose from. Su Wen shook his head and said, Grandpa Doulou, you better keep these spirit bones for yourself. Douluo looked at Su Wen with surprise. But here, there's a 10,000-year-old spirit bone and a head spirit bone that's worth as much as a 10,000-year-old spirit bone. Su Wen nodded, indicating that he hadn't misjudged. Could it be that the 2 spirit bones you already have are the head spirit bone and the right leg bone? Douluo suspected. The 10,000-year-old spirit bone in his hand was indeed the right leg bone. Now that Su Wen showed no interest in these 3 spirit bones, the likely most reason for rejecting the 2 most enticing ones was that Su Wen already had spirit bones in those 2 parts. Su Wen twitched his mouth. Misunderstandings arise like this. Coincidences are just too disgusting. Grandpa Doulou, I don't have any spirit bones, he explained helplessly. I also don't plan to fuse with spirit bones right now. Douluo ignored the first half of Su Wen's sentence, focusing on the latter half. Why? Spirit bones are hard to come by. Even I dare not say I could gather a full set of spirit bones. Wouldn't it be an opportunity to absorb them when you have the chance? Douluo wanted to hear Su Wen's thoughts. As a titled Douluo, Douluo naturally didn't hold this view, but among many titled Douluos and spirit masters in the spirit master world, this perspective was common. Only forces with profound backgrounds like the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan and titled Douluos had the qualification to select spirit bones. Spirit bones are precious, but they have drawbacks compared to spirit rings. Oh, it was the first time Douluo had heard that spirit bones had drawbacks compared to spirit rings. He looked at Su Wen with curiosity. Spirit rings can be chosen for compatibility, but spirit bones lack this. If a spirit master absorbs multiple spirit bones, as long as they are not of the same origin, they will experience rejection, while spirit rings pose no danger as long as there are no fundamental conflicts. Conflicts between multiple spirit bones absorbed by a spirit master may be unbearable and lead to their demise. Su Wen modestly said, I dare not say how confident I am in gathering a complete set of 10,000-year-old spirit bones for my whole body, but acquiring 3 or 4 10,000-year-old spirit bones is always possible, and having 3 or even 4 is when conflicts between spirit bones start to manifest. For a spirit master, absorbing around 4 spirit bones would entail enduring conflicts between them. And with these 4 spirit bones, should one absorb 4 10,000-year-old spirit bones or seize any opportunity, even a 1,000-year-old one? Su Wen stated that if he had the chance to obtain 4 10,000-year-old spirit bones, he would naturally choose the former option. Douluo seemed pensive. His lad, could it be that both of the spirit bones he has are 10,000-year-old ones? His luck is too good. He remembered that the 2 last 10,000-year-old mirror image beasts they hunted didn't yield any spirit bones. How did Su Wen obtain the spirit bones? As for the head spirit bone, Douluo tentatively believed it dropped when Su Wen absorbed the 1,000-year-old spirit ring during his second ring advancement years ago. But what about the other right leg bone? Xiaozan? Or Ho Xianang? Douluo halted his thoughts, choosing not to delve deeper. In the end, Su Wen still took away 2 non-10,000-year-old spirit bones, but he didn't absorb them on the spot. A 3,000-year-old phantom light beast spirit bone, and a 5,000-year-old giant water rhinoceros limb spirit bone, taking both spirit bones. Su Wen had other plans for them. If you want to read 50 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116, Double Breakthrough. For Su Wen, absorbing 2 spirit bones naturally wasn't easy. If Su Wen had heard about the possibility of increasing the lifespan of spirit rings, he hadn't heard of increasing the lifespan of spirit bones. Therefore, he approached the absorption of each spirit bone with great caution. The reason he kept the 2 spirit bones was also because he intended to start researching spirit bones, 1,000-year-old phantom light beast spirit bone, into it. This time, he still didn't succeed, but there seemed to be some reaction. It seems feasible to temporarily fuse spirit bones, using a clone to perform spirit skills contained within them. However, the flame clone clearly doesn't fully align with this idea, and the higher the lifespan of the spirit bone, the greater the demands on the clone. Su Wen tentatively concluded after attempting to fuse the phantom light beast spirit bone with the flame clone, he withdrew the clone. The Heavens Book martial spirit appeared in his hand, and page after page flew out, merging into the phantom light beast spirit bone in front of him. The 4th spirit skill was activated. Su Wen had already attempted to use the blue silver emperor's right leg bone, but there was no progress. However, the initial attempt made Su Wen feel that his approach was correct. It was just that his replication talent wasn't fully developed yet. Or rather, the combination of replication talent with the engravability of the book martial spirit was not yet perfected, and his analysis ability of spirit bone spirit skills was insufficient. Now, with only the 3,000-year-old phantom light beast spirit bone being replicated by Su Wen using the 4th spirit skill, Su Wen quickly made progress. The replication spirit skill from the mirror image beast couldn't replicate spirit bones. The most basic ability was to replicate spirit beasts or martial spirits. Spirit bones fused by spirit masters cannot be replicated, nor can the skills of spirit bones be replicated. However, replication is ultimately a process. As Su Wen initiated this process, the behavior of replication had actually begun, but the 4th spirit skill itself did not provide a template for replicating spirit bones. At this moment, Su Wen used his own pages as a substitute for the template, implementing the analysis and replication actions onto his own pages. Progress was made, albeit slowly. At this rate, Su Wen estimated that even 3 days of continuous replication might not be enough to fully replicate. It's still a good start, Su Wen thought. He didn't find the speed slow. At least his speculation was correct. Once this replication was completed, it meant that Su Wen's development of the replication spirit skill had taken a step forward, and the scope of replication had expanded. With more experience accumulated, perhaps he would be able to replicate the spirit skill of the blue silver emperor's right leg bone as well. Of course, the greatest significance of this development for Su Wen is not actually the replication of spirit bones. Rather, it lies in the modification of the template for the replication spirit skill. Using the replication of spirit bones as an opportunity, Su Wen realized that he could rely solely on the analysis and replication abilities of spirit skills, combined with the engraving of his own martial spirit as a template. By understanding this process, perhaps I can achieve my idea of permanently engraving those replicated martial spirits onto my martial spirit, he thought. By then, the issue of the burden of the replication spirit skill would also be resolved. After Elephant City, Su Wen's opportunities diminished. He didn't gain as much as he did from the 3 major elemental academies in Blazing City, Godwine City, and Elephant City at the beginning. However, it provided Su Wen with many experiences and insights. Meanwhile, in between his duties as a spirit fighter, Su Wen continued to repeat the replication of the spirit skill of the Phantom Light Beast Spirit Bone. After succeeding, he chose to erase the engraved information on his martial spirit and then replicate it again. Repeatedly, Su Wen also recorded the changes in his martial spirit after each replication of the spirit bone. In this way, after traveling through 3 major cities, Su Wen spent a month repeating the process. Finally, he completely engraved the spirit skill of the Phantom Light Beast spirit bone. What troubled Su Wen the most was that the information on his martial spirit also required him to maintain it with soul power. Whether it was the handwriting or the patterns displayed above, they would gradually dissipate after Su Wen cut off the supply of soul power. Spirit skill, he actually engraved it into his own mental visualization. He reflected on the changes each time he engraved the spirit skill onto his martial spirit in his mental visualization and permanently engraved it onto the pages of his mental visualization of light in his palm. 3. Next, he needed to enhance the efficiency of the engraving process, which would solve the burden issue of the replication spirit skill. The lifespan of this Phantom Light Beast spirit bone is too low for me, but its contained spirit skill, Phantom Light, is still usable. Su Wen invoked Phantom Light, and the ball of light in his hand transformed. At the same time, his phantom eye appeared on his forehead, but it was concealed, invisible to outsiders. Even when exploring alone, he was as discreet as possible, turning caution into habit. Su Wen's phantom eye had undergone multiple evolutions since its fusion, especially after Su Wen initially consumed full moon wearing autumn dew, resulting in one evolution of the phantom eye. However, even so, Su Wen was aware that he had never completely integrated this phantom eye. The greatest difference between external spirit bones and regular spirit bones is that they won't drop upon the death of the spirit master. However, this characteristic only appears after the spirit master has fully integrated it. Su Wen had never been able to completely integrate the phantom eye. He thought it was due to insufficient pressure. However, the perfect integration of the phantom eye is not about pressure. A month ago, Huaizhen did help him achieve perfect integration with the phantom eye, but it wasn't due to Huaizhen's pressure. It was when Su Wen initially perceived a significant threat and thus achieved perfect integration with the phantom eye. At that moment, with a warning from the phantom eye, Su Wen had also prepared to escape in advance. With a stimulation from the phantom eye, Su Wen's spiritual power merged into the ball of light, as if there was a world slowly forming within it. Su Wen perceived the immense space within the small ball of light through his spiritual power. Although this month had been relatively quiet for Su Wen, it had still been quite fulfilling for the other 8 people. Especially for Ningrongrong, who faced opponents Su Wen brought in every day and engaged in battles with him. Under such frequent battles, she finally broke through her bottleneck and reached level 30 time. Su Wen also made a breakthrough and reached level 49, just 1 level away from being able to absorb the 5th spirit ring and become a spirit king. In the eyes of Qin Ming and the others, Su Wen had broken through to level 40. Xiaoan, have you decided on the 4th spirit ring? Qin Ming asked as they prepared to head to the final destination and then lead the 7 of them to the starred out Great Forest to help the other 2 obtain their spirit rings. I've already decided, but Qin Ming, after the expedition ends, you can return to the academy, Su Wen replied. Upon hearing Su Wen's words, Qin Ming frowned directly. What did that mean? If you want to read 50 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 117, Always Feel Like You're Mocking Me. Taking you out for training, halfway through, you've broken through to Spirit Ancestor. If I can't even help you solve the issue of spirit rings, then I'm really not doing my job as your teacher. Qin Ming expressed that helping Ningrongrong and Su Wen obtain spirit rings is his responsibility. Today, he has already spread the news to the academy and applied to lead the team directly to the starred out Great Forest for spirit hunting after this training session. After all, the academy treasures its students. It's still risky to take them to the starred out Great Forest, so Qin Ming also needs to report. However, passing the review is definitely not a problem. Yet now, under Qin Ming's inquiry, receiving such an answer, he feels somewhat dissatisfied. Could it be that as a spirit emperor, I still can't help you hunt for suitable spirit rings? Su Wen was helpless. He truly didn't need an additional spirit ring. Moreover, even if he really wanted to hunt spirit beasts for spirit rings, Su Wen's 5th ring would definitely have to surpass 30,000 years old, and it might even reach 40 or 50,000 years old, which was not entirely impossible. Most importantly, according to Su Wen's plan, his 5th spirit ring was supposed to consider a special attribute spirit ring. Not only were special attribute spirit rings of this age already sufficient to meet his requirements, but more importantly, Su Wen was afraid he wouldn't be able to hunt down spirit beasts with such high ages. a 10,000 years old special attribute spirit beast. Upon hearing Su Wen's request, Qin fell silent. It seemed like he truly had no solution. His expression then became serious, as he said, "Xiao, the difference between a 10,000 years old spirit ring and a 1,000 years old spirit ring isn't just about the impact of soul power during absorption." Su Wen mentioned that he was aware of the existence of soul shock and had ways to deal with it. Seeing this, Qin didn't continue to interfere with Su Wen's decision. As a teacher, it was normal to remind or gives, but forcefully intervening in a student's development path through continued persuasion wouldn't be appropriate. This was different from worrying about Su Wen's safety and not allowing him to challenge the spirit ancestor team beyond his level. Continuing their previous journey, half a month later, they arrived at Suachuo City. Suachuo City. Qin looked at the city gates of Suachuo City with a nostalgic expression. Let's go. Let's find a hotel first." Along the way, Su Wen got to see the famous Rose Hotel. It had to be said that just by looking at the setup of the Rose Hotel from the outside, one could fantasize about it. It was clearly that kind of hotel. Great Spirit Arena. Su Wen and the others signed up one after another. Because he had been paying attention, Su Wen heard the mention of the Shrek team in the Great Spirit Arena. The Shrek team registered half a month ago, and so far, they have won every battle, becoming a legend in the Great Spirit Arena of Suachuo City. "Brother Xiao, it's our Xiao turn," Ningrongrong reminded. Okay, although Suachuo City was a large city, it didn't have a particularly strong atmosphere for cultivation. There were two most important cities within the Kingdom of Balak, and Suachuo City was one of them. It was known as the Granary of Balak Kingdom, the most fertile region within its borders. Despite being a large city, Suachuo City's overall level of spirit masters was only average. However, it had frequent commercial activities, with many merchants passing through for trade, making it a hub of commerce. This frequent flow of people also enriched the variety of spirit masters in Suachuo City. Although the overall level was lower compared to other major cities, Suachuo City surpassed many cities Su Wen had previously visited in terms of the diversity of spirit masters and martial spirits. In the first battle in Suachuo City, Su Wen and Ningrongrong faced a pair of twin brothers who possessed spear-type martial spirits. Was grave as he watched Su Wen demonstrated various spirit skills, his brows furrowing tighter and tighter. How did Su Wen manage to do this? While he felt that Su Wen's current rate of progress was undoubtedly the result of further mutation or even direct evolution of his martial spirit, Grandmaster couldn't deny Su Wen's own abilities. They are all self-created spirit skills. Grandmaster could confirm that many of the abilities Su Wen displayed were self-created spirit skills. And it was precisely because of this that he couldn't understand. With so many self-created spirit skills, even though many of them were inherited from fire demon Xiao Zun, Su Wen demonstrated many spirit skills that didn't belong to the fire attribute. Looking at Su Wen's ignorant scholar, Grandmaster always felt like it was mocking himself. 4 days later, the Emperor fighting team finally got matched with the Shrek team. Rather than calling it a match, it was more like an arrangement by the Great Spirit Arena. In any system of random matching, the controller behind it couldn't possibly arrange opponents completely randomly. The Emperor fighting team, when battling in the Great Spirit Arenas of various major cities, would always face targeted attacks starting from the 4th day. This was actually arranged by the Great Spirit Arena. Otherwise, how could it be possible that each time they coincidentally encountered the most famous and outstanding local teams, and almost always starting from the 4th day? In fact, from the first day that teams from outside arrived, the staff of the Great Spirit Arena would pay attention, and then arrange matches on the 2nd and 3rd days. Only after realizing the opponent's strength from 2 consecutive mistakes would they focus on arranging powerful local teams to target them. In today's Suachuo City, the Shrek team's reputation is at its peak, so it's very normal for the staff of the Great Spirit Arena to invite them to target the Emperor fighting team. In the rest area, here is the information about our opponents for this battle. You can take a look. Qin organized the profiles of the Shrek team members and handed them to the members of the Emperor fighting team. For this battle, Xiao and Rongrong don't need to participate. You will still be participating in a 2v2 battle. It's quite coincidental that this time you are matched against a team belonging to the Shrek team. Qin expression was strange as he handed separate profiles of Su Wen's and Ningrongrong's opponents to Su Wen and Ningrongrong. Su Wen caught sight of the ID's thousand-handed azure and soft-boned charming rabbit on the profiles, and he knew who his opponents were. Everyone, For this match against the Shrek team, I have a request. Please try not to injure the opponents too much during the fight, especially Yanzi. You need to control your poison well." Su Wen frowned. Although he knew about Qin Ming's background with Shrek, Qin Ming's instruction was completely tying their hands and feet during their team's fight. Why? The others were puzzled. Only Yu Shai and Hang seemed to be contemplating something. Since arriving in Suachao City, he had actually inquired about Shrek Academy's information. Unfortunately, due to slow arrangements, he hadn't had the time to visit Shrek yet. Now, unexpectedly, his team was directly matched against them. "Uncle, since it's your team that you've trained, let me see their strength," he thought. Not injure the opponents too much? Yu Shai and Hang would try his best, but he couldn't let this instruction restrain him in battle. In battle, one should never let emotions interfere, otherwise, it would not only be irresponsible to oneself but also to one's teammates. If you want to read 50 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 118, Modesty Brings Progress vs. Sanwu. Su Wen also asked Qin Ming for a list of the Shrek team. Among them, the nicknames of the 6 people matched his impression, while the 7th person composing the team was a spirit master that Su Wen had never heard of. The Shield of Despair, Su Wen wondered. Looking at this ID, he really had no clue. He continued to scroll down for more information about this spirit master. Level 23? Martial Spirit, Black Armored Tortoise. Su Wen nodded in understanding. It seemed that Shrek Academy was recruiting again, and they found a talent. Or perhaps, this person was already one of the many applicants to Shrek, and with Shrek needing more people, this optimal backup who met Shrek's basic admission criteria rose to the occasion. Shrek's admission criteria are becoming a Spirit Grandmaster by the age of 12, not reaching level 25 or above. Moreover, the configuration of the Black Armored Tortoise is quite compatible with the current Shrek team. Having 2 support members in the lineup actually burdens the team greatly in the 7-person group battles. Although they benefit from the double support of the auxiliary system, both in recovery and their own states, they ultimately lack the strength of 2 fighters. Facing 5 against 7, the pressure is still significant. Now that Shrek Academy has lost the support of Ningrongrong and gained a defensive Spirit Master, the Shield of Despair, it seems that the team's upper limit has also been raised. It's not that Ningrongrong, who is now absent, is useless or a liability. It's just that her role in the original work overlapped with Oscar's. Su Wen looked at the information on the Shield of Despair and quickly analyzed some possible tactics the opponent might use, then briefed Yu Shai and Heng and the others. Thousand Hands Azure and Soft-Boned Charming Rabbit should be 2 people I know. Their abilities and the information we have are consistent, but there's one thing I want to remind you of. Do you know them? Yu Shai and Heng and the others looked at Su Wen in surprise. You see, that the names of the Shrek team, as well as the aliases Thousand Hands Azure and Soft-Boned Charming Rabbit, basically confirmed that it's them. Well, Xiaoan, what do you want to remind them? Qin Ming asked. The agility of this Thousand Hands Azure and his manipulation of soul power are a bit peculiar, so be careful when dealing with him. Also, he has a close relationship with Soft-Boned Charming Rabbit. If she gets injured, he will lose some of his rationality to some extent, Su Wen said. He didn't think there was any suspicion of cheating. The work of intelligence is equally important in Doulou land, it's just that this point is not overly highlighted in the original work. Moreover, the inability to overcome such personality flaws also belongs to Tang San's own problems. Alright, we understand, Yu Shai and Heng nodded, not letting Su Wen continue. Knowing these matters is enough. For the tactical arrangements ahead, they still prefer to adapt flexibly 5 because such battles temper people even more. Prearranging tactics is crucial in major competitions, enabling the best arrangements against the enemy, thus achieving victory easily or turning defeat into victory. However, in their current training, they still need to hone their teamwork and coordination. In battles, anything can happen, one cannot confine their thinking and must adapt flexibly during the fight. This is not only for the Spirit Master competition, but more importantly for the future development of Spirit Masters. Next, we invite the Modesty Brings Progress duo and the Sanwu duo to the stage. Su Wen and Ningrongrong stepped onto the platform. At the sight of Su Wen, Tang San and Xiao Wu's expressions evidently changed. Whether it was in individual matches or 2v2 competitions, Grandmaster wasn't responsible for providing them with intelligence, they needed to adapt on the fly based on the situation on the field. Su Wen had changed a lot since his days at Nuoding Academy, But one's demeanor and gaze were hard to completely alter. Especially since Su Wen hadn't experienced Majornex, but instead had progressed further along his path as a scholar who transformed knowledge into strength. The match begins. With a host's command, Tang San and Xiao Wu instantly released their martial spirits when they looked across in surprise. Ning Rongrong released her martial spirit, holding the resplendent 7 treasure-glazed tile pagoda in her palm, with 2 yellow spirit rings rising beneath her feet. Tang San was astonished by Ning Rongrong's 7 treasure-glazed tile pagoda martial spirit, and at the same time, surprised that she was only a spirit grandmaster. It meant that Su Wen was a spirit elder. How did Su Wen's soul power cultivation progress so rapidly? Tang San was amazed. Back in the day, he not only obtained the first spirit ring half a year ahead of Su Wen, but also gained the second ring at least 6 months before him. However, just 3 months after acquiring his third spirit ring, Tang San saw Su Wen already a spirit elder. This left him utterly shocked. However, his attention was quickly drawn to Su Wen's failure to release his martial spirit. Why wasn't he releasing his martial spirit? A surge of flames rose. Su Wen was engulfed in flames from head to toe. Fire demon-style possession. Fire. Tang San was greatly astonished, immediately looking towards Xiao Wu. This battle might depend on Xiao Wu. The restraint of fire against blue silvergrass was too obvious. The binding force of his blue silvergrass on Su Wen would be greatly weakened. His gaze shifted to Ning Rongrong, who was hiding behind Su Wen, holding the 7 treasure-glazed tile pagoda in her palm. With a flick of his right hand, a blue silvergrass grew swiftly from the ground, intending to stab towards Ning Rongrong by bypassing Su Wen. Su Wen waved his right hand, flames spread, forming a wall of fire that intercepted all the blue silvergrass with that of a 7 to 8,000 years old one. Such flames formed a wall of fire, through which Tang San's blue silvergrass couldn't penetrate. Xiao Wu widened her legs and swiftly charged towards Su Wen. She rapidly closed the distance with Su Wen, and when they were about 10 meters apart, her third purple spirit ring shimmered, instantly halving the distance between them. In an instant, they were within 5 meters of each other. Xiao Wu kicked out. Despite Xiao Wu's formidable spiritual power, her movement seemed like slow motion before him as he unleashed a flame fist. Boom! A terrifying eruption of flames sent Xiao Wu flying backward, flipping in the air continuously. Even after landing, she struggled to stop her backward momentum. Tang San's eyes turned red too. If you want to read 50 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 119, Like Master Like Disciple. The observation area. Yu Shai and Heng and others watched the scene on the stage. Even from a distance, they could feel the changes in Tang San's state. Goodness, this is such a huge change. At this moment, Yu Shai and Heng finally understood why Su Wen would mention such a common character flaw that many people have. If it were Du Guyan who got injured in battle, he would also be angry, affecting his own judgment. It's not just Du Guyan, but also opponents. If they were seriously injured in battle, he would act impulsively too. Now he understood the reason why Su Wen deliberately pointed this out. It's not just a minor flaw, but a particularly serious condition. If I remember correctly, Tang San is the disciple of Uncle. How could such a rational person like Uncle teach such a disciple? Yu Shai and Heng frowned, puzzled. However, even though he was puzzled, deep down he had a vague answer. Uzziah Gang had left the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan a long time ago, and Yu Shai and Heng's impression of him was entirely based on childhood memories. All that remained were the images of him taking care of himself and playing together, naturally forming pleasant memories. As he grew up, he had also heard his uncles and other people in the family talk about Uzziah Gang, but due to his preconceptions, he didn't take those harsh words to heart. But undoubtedly, he knew about these harsh words. Anger? Yu Shai and Heng used to think it was because of the pressure from his grandfather. But now, he was starting to accept another viewpoint vaguely. The seemingly stable and rational Grandmaster was actually the most unstable one. His pride, like Tang San's towards Xiao Wu, was like a sore spot. Once touched, rationality would collapse, and there would be no stability whatsoever. Tang San was furious, his purple eyes filled with bloodshot streaks. Seeing Tang San in this state, Su Wen became alert. He wasn't afraid of Tang San's blue silvergrass and hidden weapons, but that didn't mean Ning Rongrong wasn't afraid. In this match, the teacher didn't restrict me from using hidden weapons. Tang San stopped using blue silvergrass, and now various small hidden weapons such as flying needles and darts appeared in his hands. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Each hidden weapon cut through the air in an arc, swirling in the sky, making it impossible to guess their true trajectory and landing point. The skill in the deployment of hidden weapons was very clever, even able to make thrown darts suddenly curve in the air, extending the time it took to reach the target, causing the opponent's defense to miss the perfect timing to avoid the dart one. However, all this cleverness also involved the use of force. And among these forces, there is a rather important parameter. That is, the external forces acting on the hidden weapons during flight. Under normal circumstances, hidden weapons are only subject to gravity, using it as a basis to design the force and create the intended trajectory. However, if other external forces are applied during the flight of the hidden weapon, the original trajectory will also change. It will no longer follow the expected path. At this moment, dozens of hidden weapons flew towards him, but Su Wen remained calm. 3 small hills condensed beside him, swiftly landing in 3 directions around him. A force of oppression descended out of nowhere time, with the help of the vortex of air. Su Wen could clearly perceive the location and flight direction of the darts. Combined with his powerful spiritual power and extremely keen observation skills, Su Wen swiftly dodged each dart. Tang San's expression changed slightly. Su Wen didn't envelop him in the stone formation, which meant that if he threw the dart, it would fly in the normal environment first and then enter the stone formation with added pressure from thin air. Moreover, he didn't feel this pressure and was unaware of its magnitude. As a result, his hidden weapons were rendered useless. Su Wen, you're too cunning. Tang San dared not underestimate Su Wen, who used to be inconspicuous at Nuoding Academy. Tang San believed that it must be because of his previous exposure of his hidden weapons techniques at Nuoding Academy that Su Wen had started thinking of countermeasures early on. Su Wen condensed a Rasenshuriken in his hand and threw it towards Xiao Wu as he formed a Rasengan in his other hand, clashing with Tang San's profound jade hand. Bang! Even though he employed the profound jade hand, Tang San still felt his right hand trembling. His expression changed slightly, not daring to continue to confront Su Wen head-on. 8 appendages resembling spider legs emerged from his back, bearing many similarities to the blue-silver grass he had previously released. If one had little knowledge, they would assume this was just a manifestation of Tang San's blue-silver. Those with a bit more insight might think it was a martial spirit mutation. However, among those present, there were those with even higher levels of insight. Douluo, hidden in the shadows, had his eyes burst with brilliance. External spirit bone. Moreover, it was an external spirit bone that hadn't fully integrated. Sensing the spirit bone's aura and observing its external manifestation, Douluo quickly guessed its origin. A spider-type spirit beast, and one with extremely potent venom, such an external spirit bone was an absolute treasure even for him, the poison Douluo. Douluo's pupils, which had previously returned to normal, now turned green once again, emitting a green light. Sensing a great malevolence descending, Tang San assumed it was brought by Su Wen, the enemy. With his eyes reddening, he didn't hesitate much. He swiftly closed in on Su Wen, using the 8 spider lances technique, pressing tightly against Su Wen's body. The 8 spider lances in his hand seemed to become a seamless part of his body. The 8 spears operated in perfect harmony, attacking with incredible speed and cunning angles. However, Su Wen had experienced numerous battles. Facing Tang San's close proximity, he directly countered with the fire demon style. Streams of wind and flames intertwined, forming a wind and fire Rasengan. The eruption of the wind and fire Rasengan forced Tang San to endure the force after each attack. Despite any methods of dissipating force, he couldn't quickly follow up with another strike. No matter how adaptable one's techniques were, they would be interrupted in the face of overwhelming force. You can rely on the 8 spider lances to attack, essentially launching instantaneous assaults from all directions, rendering me unable to defend. But what if each of my strikes prevents you from connecting to the next one? This is about understanding one's own abilities and advantages. Even in a game, tactics matter. In real battles between spirit masters, there are even more variables, and the impact of the strategies adopted will be even greater. Bang! 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 The 8 spider lances are incredibly sturdy, and Su Wen's wind and fire Rasengan eruption couldn't damage them too. At this moment, Xiao Wu's clothes are tattered, her exposed skin burnt. Seizing the opportunity while Tang San engages Su Wen, she grits her teeth through the pain, preparing to eliminate Ning Rongrong first. If you want to read 50 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 120, Xiao Wu's flashy kill. While Tang San was using hidden weapons, Ning Rongrong was still tightly hiding behind Su Wen. As Tang San revealed his 8 spider lances and engaged in battle with Su Wen, Ning Rongrong quickly distanced herself from Su Wen and hid at the edge of the arena. The astonishing length of the 8 spider lances gave Tang San an advantage in combat, and Ning Rongrong, being a support type, risked being affected if she stayed too close. Xiao Wu seized the opportunity to target Ning Rongrong, the support type. At the edge of the arena, Ning Rongrong, being powerless, seemed afraid as Xiao Wu charged towards her, even looking back in fear. Xiao Wu sneered. Su Wen had no intention of intervening. Instead, he continued to stand his ground against Tang San. Xiao Wu, feeling exceedingly arrogant, instantly flashed behind Ning Rongrong. However, the gentle little lamb changed in the next moment. Ning Rongrong's gaze turned sharp. HMPH, foolish rabbit, her solo kill. Solo kill. Ning Rongrong was extremely pleased, standing at the edge of the arena with her hands on her hips, laughing heartily. Seeing this, Su Wen no longer held back, using all his strength to force Tang San to retreat. Tang San, there's no need to continue this entanglement, movements, Su Wen said. Tang San still refused to give up. He couldn't believe he was unable to defeat Su Wen. Boom. The Rasengan exploded, once again forcing Tang San to retreat fiercely. At this moment, Tang San felt his 8 spider lances trembling slightly, as if they had reached their limit after enduring too many Rasengan impacts. On Su Wen's right hand, there was a gathering of earthy yellow soul power. A large earthy yellow seal condensed, carrying a heavy aura. Mountain overturning seal, boom. As this seal descended, the arena trembled 3 times. Tang San, who narrowly avoided the impact of this seal, felt a lingering fear in his heart. Such terrifying damage. Su Wen frowned. Interrupt. Feel free to demonstrate. At the center of Su Wen's brow, the phantom eye was silently activated to hide itself using a simulated spirit skill, carefully observing Tang San's changes in footwork and soul power operation. Among the unique skills of the Tang sect, what truly piqued Su Wen's interest was the Ghost Shadow Perplexing Track, which combined deceptive footwork with agile evasion abilities. Most importantly, when the Ghost Shadow Perplexing Track is executed, it seems to resonate with some kind of mystery, dazzling the eyes of onlookers. Su Wen felt it must be attuned to some sort of formation, hence its bewildering effect. With a Phantom Eye's illusion-breaking effect, Su Wen noted the opponent's footwork trajectory and soul power operation, awaiting further study. The battle continued for 10 minutes. In the end, Tang San exhausted his strength and was eliminated by Su Wen. At this moment, Ning Rongrong and Xiao Wu were still bickering at the edge of the arena. Ning Rongrong stuck out her tongue, continuously muttering foolish rabbit, while Xiao Wu wore a frustrated expression. Su Wen couldn't help but feel helpless about this situation. There was no denying that Xiao Wu's actions just now were indeed perplexing. To blink over and deliver a blow like that was simply outrageous. Even when facing an auxiliary spirit master, there was absolutely no need to waste a teleportation skill like that. Why not just kick the opponent out of the ring straightforwardly? Why the need for flashy maneuvers? Only turned up making oneself a laughingstock? In the spectator area, Grandmaster also frowned upon this behavior, but he quickly regained his composure. He had been contemplating how to criticize Xiao Wu too for quite some time. He had wanted to reprimand Xiao Wu. Her style in battle was too self-centered. Today, he didn't inform Tang San and the others about Su Wen beforehand. On one hand, he intended to use Su Wen's presence to alert his disciple, Tang San, one that Tang San couldn't help rectify, in order to provide her with criticism and education. Of course, aside from that, in the past spirit fights, he indeed didn't bother with one-on-one or two-on-two gathering intelligence. Only in Shrek Team's team matches would he analyze the opponent's abilities and characteristics to formulate tactics. Similar to Qin Ming, he was consciously cultivating the student's adaptability. The difference was that Qin Ming was responsible for collecting all combat data but didn't help devise strategies. Grandmaster, on the other hand, focused on cultivating Shrek's students' adaptability in individual and 2v2 matches while overseeing strategy formulation in team battles. Xiao, you really didn't hold back at all. After the battle ended, Xiao Wu pointed at Su Wen, expressing her dissatisfaction with Su Wen's ruthless flame fist and Rasenshuriken during the fight 3. She could still feel the burning sensation from her several wounds. Su Wen, I didn't expect you to be so formidable. We were careless this time. I hope we'll have another chance to battle, Tang San said before leaving with Xiao Wu. Feeling Tang San's unusual mood beside her, Xiao Wu didn't fuss too much and quietly followed him back to the Shrek resting room. Oscar, quickly give me a big sausage to eat. I can't bear it anymore. Xiao Wu asked Oscar for a healing big sausage as soon as she entered the resting room, and she swallowed it in one gulp. Feeling her injuries rapidly recovering and the lingering burning sensation gradually fading away, she finally breathed a sigh of relief. Slumping onto the couch, Xiao Wu felt deeply frustrated by today's defeat. Especially when she remembered Ning Rongrong's continuous mockery for 10 minutes, she suddenly felt sulky, puffing up her cheeks and clenching her fists, striking at the air. One after restoring his condition with a recovery big sausage, Tang San was called out alone by Grandmaster. Xian, how did you feel about the battle just now, teacher? You saw everything. Tang San still felt drained, caught in a self-doubt. Yes, I watched every battle of Su Wen. He's very strong, Grandmaster spoke. But your battle with him, you can't blame yourself. His soul power level is as high as level 39. Losing to him is not your fault. In that situation, Tang San managed to hold his own against Su Wen for 10 minutes, which was quite commendable one at that time. If Xiao Wu hadn't gone to deliver the blow and had instead straightforwardly eliminated Ning Rongrong, even if Ning Rongrong possessed special combat abilities, 10 minutes would have been more than enough for Xiao Wu, as a spirit elder, to eliminate Ning Rongrong. Then, she could have gone back to support Tang San, and the battle would have been winnable. Tang San remained silent. Grandmaster could see that Tang San seemed to have withdrawn into himself after this match, so he refrained from harsh criticism, attributing the outcome to Su Wen's high soul power level. Teacher, do you think if I cultivated my other martial spirit, would I still have been so passive in today's battle? Clearly, today's match made Tang San acutely aware of the vulnerability of his blue-silver grass. Under Su Wen's flames, the blue-silver grass instantly turned to ashes, even after being enhanced by 3 spirit rings. In this match, his martial spirit was completely useless. But what if he had cultivated something other than blue-silver grass? If you want to read 50 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 121, My strong period is in the later stage. Tang San already had the idea of cultivating the Clear Sky Hammer martial spirit. Although he has maintained a continuous victory in the Great Spirit Arena with the help of Tang Sec's unique techniques and his own strategic planning in combat, Tang San can even fight with Daimyo Bei. However, deep down, he knows how much his martial spirit has been holding him back. In the past, he could still accept it. After all, this way, his Tang Sec's unique techniques would play a significant role in his battles, which was the highlight of his Tang Sec's unique techniques. But today's failure, today's powerlessness in the battle, made him desperate. Before, the reason why Tang San could afford to not care was that he encountered few fire attribute spirit masters, and even fewer powerful fire attribute spirit masters. Even Ma Hongjin's spirit skill attack seemed stiff, easily avoidable by Tang San, but today encountering Su Wen made people despair. His control over flames was completely incomparable to Ma Hongjin's. This kind of control improves with the cultivation of spirit masters over time. If a fire attribute spirit master can reach the Spirit King level, their control over flames can basically match Su Wen's, not leaving any gaps for him to utilize blue-silver grass. It's not about the development of flames, but simply when the spirit ring reaches the 5,000-year-old mark and above, the provided spirit skill becomes quite powerful for fire attribute spirit masters. Coupled with the cultivation of Spirit King level soul power, the effect produced is the same as Su Wen's current suppression of Tang San's blue-silver grass. However, if he cultivated a different hammer martial spirit instead of blue-silver grass, Tang San was certain that he wouldn't be in the passive situation he was in now. Xian, Grandmaster sighed, looking at Tang San seriously, do you still want to cultivate your other martial spirit? Tang San remained silent, not answering, but he had already indicated his inclination. Xian, do you know why both your father and I advised you not to attach spirit rings to your second martial spirit? Tang San shook his head, showing a puzzled expression. Now I ask you, if you were to start attaching spirit rings to your second martial spirit now, how many years worth of spirit rings would you absorb? Grandmaster asked. Tang San paused for a moment, his pupils contracting. At that moment, he seemed to realize the true danger of his twin martial spirits. It's not about having an extra martial spirit, having an extra trump card, or having 9 more spirit skills for a more comprehensive tactical arrangement. It's that his second martial spirit can become powerful enough to crush any other spirit master. Seeing Tang San's reaction, Grandmaster understood that he had already grasped his meaning. Xian, your true power surge will come in the later stage. According to my plan, the best time for you to cultivate your second martial spirit is after you reach the Spirit Saint level. By then, all your second martial spirit rings should not only be above 5,000 years old, but preferably all above 30,000 years old. With such enhancements, I believe you will have the potential to rival title Douluo even in the Spirit Douluo realm. Yes, teacher, I understand. It was only then that Tang San realized his true potential lay in the later stage. In the current early stage, being able to cultivate blue-silver grass to such an extent, being able to almost stand at the top among peers at the same level, was already very powerful. Seeing this, Grandmaster also breathed a sigh of relief. Regarding your martial spirit cultivation issue, there's actually another thing I've been thinking about. That little assistant. Grandmaster shifted the topic. Sure enough, Tang San recalled the details of the battle and discovered the differences in the little assistant. In his previous intense battles, his eyes were often red, and he hadn't noticed that an opponent with a 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda martial spirit could exhibit abilities completely unrelated to assistance. No matter what spirit ring is attached to the 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda martial spirit, the obtained spirit skills will be the same, with the amplification ratio being identical as well. However, the higher the age of the obtained spirit ring, the less consumption when using spirit skills, Grandmaster explained. As far as I know, there are no spirit skills within the 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda that utilize wind and fire attributes. Wind and fire attributes? Tang San actually didn't see it clearly at the time. I've been observing Su Wen and the other for several days. That little assistant has mastered related abilities to the wind and fire elements, capable of casting ordinary fireball attacks and accelerating with air currents. She even developed the ability to fly. Listening to what Grandmaster said, Tang San felt that this little assistant was somewhat unusual. The assisting function of the 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda itself is already powerful. If it could also use this method to protect itself, then the effects it could produce in battle would be incredibly extraordinary. An assistant that could enhance all aspects of you, with a very large amplification ratio, and didn't even need protection. It was simply perfect. Moreover, according to Grandmaster, the other could even be counted as combat power. Tang San's expression changed slightly. Could it be that she also has twin martial spirits? Grandmaster shook his head, saying, it's unlikely. While she's using these 2 types of abilities simultaneously, she's always manifesting the martial spirit of the 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda, without a trace of another spirit ring, nor any additional spirit ring showing. Grandmaster knew that even with twin martial spirits, one couldn't simultaneously use both martial spirits. There was even a delay in switching between martial spirits, so he directly ruled out the possibility of the other having twin martial spirits. That little assistant's abilities are too similar to those mastered by Su Wen, Grandmaster said. Wind, fire. Yes. Only now did Tang San realize the similarity. Yes, Su Wen's martial spirit is just a book martial spirit, yet he wields such powerful fire and wind attribute spirit skills. Su Wen was of the thoughts that a battle had provoked in Tang San and Grandmaster. At this moment, he was focused on another matter. Grandpa Doulou should unaware still be following us. In the recent battle, there was both Xiao Wu and an external spirit bone, tisk tisk tisk, who knows if Douluo is drooling now. Before returning to the rest area, Su Wen was stopped by Douluo Xiao. Come out for a moment, bringing Su Wen to a separate room and using soul power to shield everything around them. Douluo's expression became serious. Xiao, do you know the 2 people you fought with just now? Yes, Tang San and Xiao Wu are my classmates from the Nuoding City Primary Spirit Master Academy, Su Wen replied. From the age of 6 when I enrolled until just before I met Grandpa Doulou, they were studying at Nuoding Academy. After that, it seems they came to Shrek Academy. Oh, Douluo's eyes flickered. Did you notice what those 8 spider spears Tang San used at the end were? Douluo didn't believe Su Wen couldn't tell. External spirit bone, Su Wen said calmly. Douluo looked at Su Wen, speaking slowly. It's an external spirit bone that hasn't fully integrated. Su Wen was momentarily stunned, carefully considering Douluo's words, understanding his intentions. However, all of this was within his expectations. What Douluo said next, though, caught him off guard. If you want to read 50 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com. Johan LT. Chapter 122, Xiao Wu's Secret. Do you know the identity of the girl named Xiao Wu who is with Tang Sen? Douluo's expression was very plain, showing no emotion as he asked. In the original story, Douluo did not realize Xiao Wu's identity as a 100,000-year-old spirit beast. Su Wen speculated that Douluo was focused on the battle just now and should have been able to discern Xiao Wu's identity. However, he never expected Douluo to bring this up to him. Douluo noticed Su Wen's unusual reaction and furrowed his brow, saying, "Do you know she is a 100,000-year-old spirit beast?" Su Wen nodded, acknowledging this. "My spiritual power was already strong, coupled with the full moon-wearing autumn dew I took in the beginning, allowed me to sense something unusual about Xiao Wu's aura." Douluo nodded, not doubting Su Wen's words. She would easily yield a 100,000-years-old spirit ring and spirit bone. A 100,000-years-old spirit ring is useless to me, but Yaner can make use of it. However, Yaner is still far from being able to absorb a 100,000-years-old spirit ring, whereas you, kid, have the opportunity. Seeing the 100,000-year-old spirit beast transform, Douluo could actually rationalize and then give the 100,000-year-old spirit ring to him. That Xiao Wu is indeed bold, actually entering human society directly after transformation, Douluo sneered. Although after transformation, entering human society and living together for a long time can make the aura of a 100,000-years-old transformed spirit beast, it's not fate until the spirit saint realm that this aura completely disappears, he continued. Su Wen understood all of this. He had seen it in various materials about spirit beasts. Kid, absorb your 5th spirit ring from a 40,000 years old to 50,000 years old. Try absorbing an 80,000 years old spirit ring for your 6th spirit ring, and your 7th spirit ring can absorb a 100,000 years old one, Douluo said. Su Wen was somewhat surprised by Douluo's bold idea. The 7th ring would have Su Wen absorb a 100,000 years old spirit ring. Although it made sense to Douluo, who knew Su Wen's situation well, in today's Douluo land, this kind of arrangement was far beyond the common understanding of spirit masters. It's uncertain how long it will take for Yaner to cultivate to become a titled Douluo, but for you, kid, reaching Spirit Saint might take at most 10 years. It's better to seize the opportunity as soon as possible, Douluo remarked. Douluo had an inexplicable confidence in Su Wen, actually believing that Su Wen would become a Spirit Saint within 10 years. Su Wen was speechless. However, Douluo's suggestion for him to attempt absorbing a 100,000 years old spirit ring for his 7th ring was actually quite conservative. Of course, from an outsider's perspective, it was already a normal estimation, even somewhat daring. But Su Wen had his own plans. Although the 5th ring he would absorb wouldn't exceed 50,000 years old, he intended to complete the replacement of the temporary rings during this period, replacing the first 3 spirit rings with 10,000 years old spirit rings. If successful, it wouldn't be impossible for him to absorb a 100,000 years old spirit ring for his 6th ring. However, let's make it clear that the 100,000 years old spirit bone should be absorbed by Yanzi, Douluo reminded. Su Wen had no objections to this. Moreover, he didn't actually think he could succeed in taking action against Xiao Wu at the moment, so he didn't hold too much hope. After all, he had only recently pulled out a blue silver emperor and stolen its right leg bone. Tang Hao might be keeping an eye on Tang Sen at any moment. As for 10 years later, Su Wen felt that in 10 years, he could even go hunting for 100,000-year-old spirit beasts in the deep sea. 100,000-year-old spirit beasts were hard to find on the continent, but it was just that they were hard to find. As long as one had enough strength and dared to venture deep into the starred-out Great Forest, they could always be found. And if one were even more daring, venturing into the depths of the sea to find groups of 100,000-year-old spirit beasts was not entirely impossible. 3. Compared to the soft-bone rabbit's 100,000-years-old spirit ring that didn't suit him, Su Wen still preferred to find something more suitable. His goal wasn't just to become an ordinary titled Douluo, it was to become a god. So, each spirit ring couldn't be casually chosen. The idea that a 100,000-years-old spirit ring didn't need to be compatible was complete nonsense to him. So, Grandpa Doulou, do you plan to make a move now? Su Wen asked. Upon being questioned by Su Wen, Douluo pondered for a moment before deciding to first capture Xiao Wu. Since we've encountered her, we should first control her, otherwise, we don't know if we'll be able to find her again in 10 years, he said. Su Wen nodded, expressing approval of Douluo's decisive approach. You go back for now. We'll make a move when the Shrek team leaves. Oh, And your teacher, Qin Ming, seems to have come from Shrek. You might meet tonight, after you finish dinner. I'll make my move, alright. Su Wen nodded. One back in the rest area, the Emperor fighting team's match was about to begin. Su Wen and Ningrongrong were invited to the spectator area to watch. Xiaoan, who do you think will win this time between the Emperor fighting team and the Shrek team? Qin Ming asked. Of course, it will be our Emperor fighting team, Su Wen replied confidently. Oh? Xiaoan, since you know Thousand-Handed Azure and Soft-Boned Charming Rabbit, you should know their ages. But the members of this Shrek team are all quite young. Maintaining a perfect record in the battles at the Great Spirit Arena over the past half-month is not something simple, Qin Ming remarked. Su Wen shook his head, saying, they are geniuses, maybe even surpassing Sister Yan's team, but the levels of the 7 members of Shrek are too low right now. Don't talk about potential or anything like that. Right now, strength is weak when it's weak, and in this match, the Emperor fighting team has a higher chance of winning. That's obvious. Xiao, do you know where I once trained at an academy? Qin Ming asked. Shrek, Su Wen replied. Qin Ming looked embarrassed. He hadn't expected Su Wen to know everything. Shrek is just a private institution, and it's not recognized by the Empire, so they can't participate in the Spirit Master competition. But I see that the current generation of talents from Shrek is very outstanding, so I want to invite Shrek to join the Heaven Dao Imperial Academy, Qin Ming explained. It was clear that Qin Ming still had the idea of inviting Shrek to join the Heaven Dao Imperial Academy. At that time, they can compete under the identity of Heaven Dao Emperor Team's second team, he added. Su Wen didn't say anything. This plan would probably be quashed soon. Because of Su Wen's presence, the Emperor fighting team had already become much stronger than its original trajectory. Yu Shai and Heng hadn't shown significant improvement, but Du Yuyan had made a qualitative leap. Yu Feng, Osler, Shimo, and Shimo all improved, and even Yi Lingling, due to her numerous experiences with Su Wen's engrave enhancement, paid more attention to physical training. With the abilities and personality traits of Tang San and Xiao Wu revealed by Su Wen, it wasn't difficult for the Emperor fighting team to win. Sure enough, after a full 10 minutes of battle, the Emperor fighting team emerged victorious. During those 10 minutes, on the Shrek side, Tang San used his agility to entangle the opponents, while the other members relied on swift flight mushroom sausages to hold off the Emperor fighting team for a long time. Perhaps due to the frequent matchups between the usual 7 members plus Su Wen and Ningrongrong after being divided into groups, the Emperor fighting team's tactics for aerial strikes were already quite refined, and they didn't fall victim to Shrek's tricky tactics as described in the original story. After the battle, Qin Ming brought his 9 students to the Shrek rest area to clarify their relationship. Suachuo City, Grand Hotel. In a large private room, the 2 teams sat at separate tables. Qin Ming, I never expected that after graduation, you would actually train so many exceptional students, Flender remarked, looking at the 9 members of the Emperor fighting team, his gaze lingering particularly long on Su Wen and Ningrongrong. If you want to read 50 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123 Spirit Master hunts Spirit Beast. It's justified. Flender paid close attention to Su Wen and Ningrongrong. He's too abnormal. Just now, he heard from Grandmaster and Tang San that Su Wen is only 14 years old, and Ningrongrong looks to be about the same age as Xiao Wu and Zhu Ziuking. At this age, with such soul power level, Shrek Academy is the most suitable place for them. It's a pity, how did they end up at the Heaven Dao Imperial Academy? Dean, you're joking. It's Shai and Heng and the others who are ambitious themselves. I'm more responsible for guiding them, Qin Ming said. By the way, congratulations to the Dean for recruiting so many outstanding junior brothers and sisters this year. Flender had a proud smile on his face, obviously proud of Shrek's situation this year. However, he soon became disheartened. Because this might be the last year. Dean, what's wrong? Qin Ming asked when he saw Flender's face fall. Ah, Qin Ming, you don't know, Shrek's situation is getting worse and worse now. I guess when Mubei and Xia isn't graduate, Shrek will have to disband, Flender sighed. What? Qin Ming was shocked. Then, Seeing that comforting didn't work, he proposed his own idea. Dean, I know this is presumptuous, but since you mentioned that the academy can continue, I still want to share my thoughts. Oh, I want to invite you, Dean, to join Heaven Dao Imperial Academy in the Heaven Dao Imperial Academy name of Shrek. The junior brothers and sisters are so outstanding that they can completely form a team to participate in the Spirit Master competition 2 years later. Even if their performance in the Spirit Master competition 2 years later is not satisfactory, given their age, they can continue to stay at Heaven Dao Imperial Academy and participate in the next Spirit Master competition. Upon hearing Qin Ming's words, there was silence in the room as everyone awaited Flender's response. Flender's expression stiffened, but due to the earlier consideration of merging with Blue Tyrant Academy, there wasn't as strong a reaction as in the original. Grandmaster frowned. No. He had already internally rejected Qin Ming's proposal. Over the past 3 months, he had somewhat laid the groundwork for Flender, intending to merge Shrek into Blue Tyrant Academy and participate in the Spirit Master competition under the name of Blue Tyrant Academy. And now Qin Ming wanted to intervene? What was Heaven Dao Imperial Academy? Just a gilded place. Moreover, how could anything outside be better than their own academy? Even though Grandmaster didn't want to rely on the power of his family, at this moment, he was even more inclined to choose Blue Tyrant Academy. Grandmaster looked at Flender, shook his head slightly, and gestured with his eyes for him to refuse Qin Ming's invitation. Flender also expressed his acknowledgement. Qin Ming, you don't need to worry about Shrek's situation. I have a way. Instead, it's these children under your care. They all have great talent. I'll look forward to seeing the performance in the Spirit Master competition 2 years later under your leadership. The banquet dispersed. The Emperor fighting team returned to the hotel, while Su Wen left with Douluo, catching up with the Shrek team along the way. Grandmaster sensed that something was amiss and stopped first. Flender and Zhao Wuji, who were a bit dazed from drinking, instantly became more alert, scanning their surroundings cautiously. Seeing their reaction, Tang San and the other 7 disciples also realized something was wrong. I wonder which senior is here. We at Shrek Academy shouldn't have offended any seniors, right? In the shadows, a figure appeared. It was Douluo. Douluo slowly approached, revealing his face. The chilly moonlight cast down, causing everyone from Shrek to shiver. What a terrifying aura. You're a titled Douluo? Zhao Wuji's voice carried a sense of extreme vigilance. Flender stepped forward and clasped his fists. Your Excellency, we at Shrek Academy believe we have no grievances with seniors. May I ask why Your Excellency has stopped us here? Upon hearing Zhao Wuji mention the possibility of facing a titled Douluo, the 7 monsters of Shrek's expressions changed. Xiao Wu, in particular, turned pale. She felt the gaze of the person in front of her fixed on her. Tang Sem noticed Douluo's gaze constantly locking onto Xiao Wu. Braving the pressure, he stepped forward, shielding Xiao Wu behind him, and stared firmly at poisoned Douluo before him. Your Excellency, Grandmaster began, intending to say something, but Douluo interrupted him. You, that rabbit. Will you come with me willingly, or do I need to capture you and take you away? Douluo pointed in Xiao Wu's direction, speaking lightly. He didn't feel he was doing anything wrong by doing this. Hunting spirit beasts as a spirit master is perfectly justified. The faces of the people from Shrek changed. Your Excellency, Xiao Wu is a student of our Shrek Academy. If you are to act like this, you must give us a reason. Flender took a step forward, his four-eyed cat martial spirit materializing, and simultaneously, 7 spirit rings rose from beneath his feet. The newcomer was hostile. He was prepared for a conflict, even his words were not as cautious as before. Though they stood no chance against a titled Douluo, Flender still had his cards to play. However, conflict seemed inevitable, and a firm stance was what they needed to show now. Ridiculous. Are you saying this 100,000-year-old spirit beast is a student of your Shrek? Douluo's words stirred up waves. The people from Shrek were once again shocked, their faces changing drastically. Xiao Wu, you, Daimyo Bei and the others widened their eyes, looking at Xiao Wu. At this moment, Xiao Wu's reaction became a powerful confirmation of Douluo's words. Her gaze avoided others, unable to meet the eyes of her classmates and teachers, and her body even began to tremble and incredible. Xiao Wu, you're a 100,000-year-old spirit beast, his voice trembled. Bro, I didn't mean to hide it from you. Tears welled up in Xiao Wu's eyes as she spoke in despair. Xiao Wu, I'm your brother. Even if it means death, I will die before you. Tang San hugged Xiao Wu, then turned around, spreading his arms to shield her behind him. Senior, if you want to kill Xiao Wu to obtain the 100,000-year-old spirit ring, then you'll have to step over my corpse first. His tone was firm. Oh? You think I dare not kill you? Poison Douluo's tone was menacing, a dark green soul power already surging. Elder, Flender hurriedly interjected, wanting to bring up Tang San's father's identity. At this moment, Tang Hao's voice resounded. I'd like to see who dares. Tang Hao's domineering voice echoed across the wilderness. Dressed in tattered black robes, Tang Hao leaped from a distance, landing in front of the Shrek group. Hearing that familiar voice, Tang San was utterly stunned, shouting in disbelief, Dad, who are you? Douluo's heart sank. He hadn't expected another title Douluo to appear out of nowhere, and with such a domineering aura. Clear sky, Tang Hao slowly uttered 2 words. Clear sky Douluo. You're Tang Hao, Douluo exclaimed in shock. If you want to read 50 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 124, Who's in Control? You're not dead, Douluo was shocked. In the Battle of Clear Sky Douluo against Spirit Hall's former Supreme Pontiff years ago, the Supreme Pontiff died shortly after, and the Clear Sky Douluo disappeared without a trace. Unexpectedly, more than 10 years later, the Clear Sky Douluo appeared again. Su Wen also appeared behind Douluo, not surprised by the current situation too. Tang Hao's appearance here is rather reasonable. The rabbit can't be killed, but there should be some gains today. Could it be that the Clear Sky Douluo is also eyeing this 100,000-year-old spirit beast? Douluo asked with narrowed eyes. This question left Tang Hao unsure how to answer. Whether he said yes or no, it seemed he would be misunderstood. Clear Sky Douluo, as spirit masters hunting spirit beasts is natural. If you're not interested in this 100,000-year-old spirit beast, please don't hinder me from hunting it. Douluo had some fear of Tang Hao at the moment, but he still had confidence. After all, he was the poison Douluo. The more people present, the more confident he felt, especially with Tang Hao's vulnerabilities. His confidence was sufficient. For example, at this moment, Tang San is present. The poison Douluo is confident that he can poison everyone present before Tang Hao kills him. Tang Hao's expression had become somewhat impatient, his soul power fluctuations increasingly terrifying, as if he might strike at any moment. Su Wen stepped forward and said, Clear Sky, do you really want Tang San and this 100,000-year-old spirit beast to continue this kind of relationship? This is taboo. There is no possibility between humans and spirit beasts. 5 Although Su Wen was just a junior, his sudden intervention made Tang Hao fall silent. Love crossing races is taboo. Back then, he and Yin suffered such targeting, were hunted down, just because they touched upon taboo. Humans are humans, spirit beasts are spirit beasts, even if they can transform into humans. The essence of spirit beasts will not change. Killing them will still yield spirit rings. As for the relationship between Tang San and Xiao Wu, Tang Hao has always been conflicted, ultimately choosing a let-it-be approach to their development. However, seeing their relationship grow closer, Tang Hao knew his son was following the path he once took. Now, with Douluo's presence exposing Xiao Wu's identity, if this relationship isn't stopped in time, it will only lead to another tragedy. Su Wen. Tang San looked at Su Wen and questioned, did you already know Xiao Wu's identity? Su Wen shook his head, saying, I only found out about her identity during our fight, but he wasn't one to yield easily. It wasn't his style to simply answer Tang San's questions. Moreover, Tang San, it seems you've misunderstood the situation. Su Wen's face showed a dangerous expression. Now, we are the ones in control. He looked at Tang Hao and said, isn't that right? Under the clear sky? Su Wen's words also reminded Douluo, who noticed Tang Hao's unusual demeanor. Through the cold moonlight, he observed Tang Hao's complexion and felt the flaws under the oppressive soul power, giving him confidence once again. I specialize in researching soul power circulation routes and am sensitive to soul power fluctuations. Although it's heavily suppressed, the injuries within the clear sky are still evident. Even, Tang Hao exuded a murderous aura, dense crimson soul power rushing forth, causing Su Wen's words to halt, as if faced with a sea of corpses and blood in an instant. 9 spirit rings, 2 yellow, 2 purple, 4 black, and 1 red, fell in succession, rendering the atmosphere silent to the extreme. Douluo stood his ground, shielding Su Wen from the pressure. With this buffer, Su Wen breathed a sigh of relief and continued, The injuries under the clear sky probably make it difficult for the spirit skills to erupt. Even with injuries, Douluo still can't defeat me, Tang Hao's hoarse voice rang out, carrying a hint of confidence and dominance. Douluo's face turned ugly. Who's looking down on whom? In battles, it's never about sheer strength. At the level of title Douluo, it seems that clear sky has too much inclination towards power collisions. As long as Grandpa Doulou doesn't engage in direct confrontation with you, in the entanglement between both parties, the one who probably won't hold up first is your excellency, then I can also kill you first, Tang Hao said coldly. Now he realized, this Su Wen was quite bothersome. Then I can also bury everyone present, Douluo retorted domineeringly. You kill Su Wen, I'll kill everyone on your side, and then we'll engage in a battle of attrition. You die, I'll live. From Su Wen's opening to now, combining what Su Wen said, Tang Hao's reaction, and his own observations, Douluo could conclude that Tang Hao's injuries were indeed quite severe. Tang Hao's injuries are so severe that engaging in a battle with title Douluo would only worsen them, possibly resulting in his demise. However, he is ultimately clear sky Douluo. Once he goes all out, he might die, but neither poison Douluo nor Su Wen will live. Therefore, Douluo also doesn't want to engage in a direct confrontation. Clear sky Douluo, encountering a 100,000-year-old spirit beast is a rare opportunity, and we can both compromise, he said. No, today's events cannot end so easily. With the situation exposed, Xiao Wu can only return to the starred-out Great Forest, and Tang San will inevitably be targeted by Spirit Hall, whether because of his relationship with Tang Hao or with Xiao Wu. Don't push your luck, Douluo exclaimed angrily. On this matter today, Xiao Wu's identity and my relationship with Xiaozhen must not be revealed by you, Tang Hao said after a moment of silence. We've already given up the 100,000-year-old spirit beast, and you still dare to negotiate. Douluo's poison surged, his martial spirit manifesting. 2 yellow, 2 purple, 5 black, and 9 spirit rings shimmered, on the verge of erupting. He had endured enough. He couldn't endure it anymore. Since resolving the poison within him, Douluo could fully unleash his poison techniques. He was no longer in a situation where he was helpless in battles against peers, especially since his soul power had also made a breakthrough, reaching level 92. Does a severely injured clear sky Douluo really think he can go all out and exchange blows with him? Boom. The poison gas spread, causing everyone present to feel dizzy. Even Tang San's face turned black, and despite activating the mysterious heaven skill to seal his meridians, he couldn't stop the spread of the poison. Douluo, how dare you? Tang Hao was furious. Tang San was his reliance, his last hope. If both sides were to perish together, what he couldn't accept the most would be losing him. And Douluo's granddaughter is not present. At least he still has descendants alive. Su Wen communicated with Douluo through spiritual power sound transmission. After some thought, Douluo spoke, hand over the ring explosion secret technique, and I won't spread what happened today. Tang Hao's expression turned cold. He looked at Su Wen behind Douluo. Young man, coveting the secret techniques of my Clear Sky Clan, aren't you afraid of being hunted down by my Clear Sky Clan? People expelled from the clan have never been hunted down because of secret techniques. I don't think the Clear Sky Clan would go after me, a nobody. Su Wen's words hit close to home. Hao's blood boiled, his vision darkened. Oh, I've studied a lot of materials and read many historical records. Do you want me to describe in detail the losses suffered by the Clear Sky Clan 10 years ago? Tang Hao wanted to kill Su Wen, but at this moment, his emotions were running high, and if he acted, his injuries would only worsen exponentially, leading to certain death. Let's do as you say. Tang Hao suppressed his killing intent, calmed his mind, and spoke in a deep voice. He was already a criminal of the clan, and spreading one more secret technique wouldn't add much to his burden. Moreover, he, Tang Hao, swore to reclaim the clan's secrets. Absolutely. If you want to read 50 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 125, Desire for Revenge. Douluo swiftly led Su Wen away and returned to the Suachao City Hotel. Looking at Su Wen, Douluo's expression was complex, tinged with some suspicion. Xiaoan, why are you acting so unusually today? Although Su Wen's observational skills were sharp, he had assessed Tang Hao's injuries and won the psychological warfare, but ultimately, it was still gambling. It didn't seem like Su Wen's style. At first, everything seemed normal. But with Tang Hao's appearance, Su Wen became bolder, displaying a hint of reckless gambling. After a moment of silence, Su Wen whispered, "Grandpa Doulou, do you know how my parents died?" Douluo's pupils contracted, as if he had associated something. "My parents died in the aftermath of the collision between Tanghao and Spirit Hall," he said. Douluo fell silent at his words. So that's how it was. Su Wen was feeling uncomfortable at this moment. Logically, as a transmigrator, he, who was only 2 years old at the time, shouldn't have had too deep an emotional attachment to his parents of this lifetime. In fact, that was the case. He only regarded it as the favor of birth and upbringing, and the emotional attachment was not that deep. However, the aftermath of that battle was absorbed by his parents. Su Wen remembered everything, vividly. Even though the opponent was formidable, even though he learned from old Jerry that his own aptitude might not be satisfactory based on his parents' martial spirit, Su Wen was still filled with hatred. Regardless of right or wrong, all those who participated in that battle must die, and whoever tries to stop my revenge must die too. In fact, after more than a decade of effort, Su Wen already had hope for revenge. His current cultivation was going smoothly. Xiao, I have to remind you, since you took the ring explosion secret technique this time, you'll definitely be noticed by the Clear Sky clan. Tanghao was expelled from the clan to appease outsiders. But in the end, he is a titled Douluo of the clan. You are different. Su Wen didn't care, saying, "We only promised not to disclose today's events, but we didn't say we couldn't defend ourselves passively. If Tanghao dared to spread the information about getting the ring explosion secret technique, then Su Wen dared to defend himself by revealing everything today to ensure his innocence." Douluo was speechless. Su Wen actually had such thoughts? Then you also need to be careful of Tanghao personally intervening, Douluo reminded. "I will, but I think Tang-san won't come to assassinate me until he has some preliminary self-defense ability," Su Wen said. Su Wen didn't believe Tanghao would dare to roam around boldly. "So, will the 100,000-year-old spirit beast just slip away?" Douluo sighed, feeling very regretful. "We didn't say we wouldn't take action against Xiao Wu, right? In fact, as Su Wen just said, Tanghao could only personally take action to kill Su Wen and retrieve the clan's secret technique, and Douluo could only take action against Xiao Wu himself. However, Xiao Wu would definitely hide in the starred out Great Forest this time, so Douluo wouldn't act easily." Tonight, an unexpected enemy has emerged, Douluo sighed in his heart. "Grandpa Doulou, you should also take your medicine," Su Wen reminded. Douluo still hasn't taken the immortal grass until now. Although reaching the rank of titled Douluo, especially at the age of poison Douluo, the effect of immortal grass cannot be maximized, but it doesn't mean that having immortal grass must be maximally utilized. One perfect utilization of the effects of immortal grass? It's better to maximize the effect on the spirit master's own cultivation. "Grandpa Doulou, then the 9 treasure purple zoisha is very suitable for you," Su Wen said. Douluo hesitated a bit. The 9 treasure purple zoisha was prepared for Doulou Yan to absorb. Sister Yan still has 6 opportunities for her martial spirit to evolve. With Grandpa Jerry's golden dragon small sweet potato and my arrangement of spirit rings for Sister Yan, excavating the dragon bloodline within her martial spirit and evolving into the jade phosphorus dragon will definitely not be a problem, Su Wen said. Now what Sister Yan needs is cultivation of soul power to enhance her potential, giving her hope to break through to title Douluo. The daffodil jade fleshbone suits her very well. Conversely, Grandpa Doulou, your martial spirit has already evolved to the jade phosphor serpent emperor. If you want to evolve dragon bloodlines, you need the 9 treasure purple zoisha more. Douluo understood. It could work this way too, with not much loss, but the main consideration was still to maximize his strength. However, in the current situation, Douluo also realized the importance of his strength. Whether it was Su Wen or Doulou Yan, to grow, they needed a sufficiently strong protector. Alright, when I return this time, I'll go into seclusion. I'll first use old Jerry's golden dragon small sweet potato to excavate the bloodline, and when the time is right, I'll take the 9 treasure purple zoisha. Shrek Academy. Flender and the others gathered together, their faces solemn. Xia gang, do you know about Xiao Wu? Such a big matter couldn't be casually shouldered by Shrek. The taboo affection between human spirit masters and spirit beasts wasn't as simple as it sounded. Grandmaster shook his head, his expression settled. He never expected that there was actually a Xiao Wu, who was a 100,000-year-old spirit beast, transformed right under his nose. If he had known earlier, he would have definitely captured Xiao Wu and then studied her. But now that things had come to this, With Xiao Wu's relationship with his disciples being so close, Grandmaster wouldn't have such thoughts even if he knew the truth. Going against the grain. Both Tang San's father and he, as Grandmaster, actually belonged to the type that went against the grain, which was why they could tolerate Tang San's situation. "Dad, where did you go earlier? I've been looking for you for so long," Tang San said, looking at his father who still had that scruffy beard, the same as before, unable to help himself. "I had some personal matters to attend to. Fortunately, I was nearby this time. Otherwise, with Douluo making a move, all of you might have been silenced by him," Tang Hao said, still feeling a shiver down his spine. A glint of coldness appeared in Tang San's eyes. "Douluo, I'll remember this grudge. And you, Su Wen, if it weren't for you this time, we wouldn't have lost that ring explosion secret technique." Although Tang San didn't know what the ring explosion secret technique was, he knew it was precious from what Tang Hao had said about it being a secret not passed down by the Clear Sky clan. Being proficient in pharmacology, Tang San naturally could detect his father's condition clearly. So he could only remember this grudge and seek revenge when he cultivated enough. "Xiao Wu, you should return to the Star Dao Great Forest. That's where you belong," Tang Hao said to Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu kept her head down all the while. Her heart was in turmoil at the moment. The father of the brother she had always relied on was a titled Douluo. It was highly likely that he had observed her in secret multiple times, and had probably long ago figured out her identity. Even so, he hadn't stopped her. Xiao Wu wasn't sure whether Tang Hao had any suspicions of raising her only to kill her later. At this moment, she didn't reject Tang Hao's proposal either. First, she would return to the Star Dao Great Forest, and then decide. If you want to read 50 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.